On the colossal Saint Ancestral mountain range, sunlight shined through the gap between the mountains into the deep canyons. On the hillside beside the valley, some snow remained. Even though it's already the early summer, the snow has yet to melt. The cold here is exceptionally long. The roars of beasts can occasionally be heard. On the surface of the valley stood a magnificent city. The world outside of the Saint Ancestral Mountains has been occupied by the beasts. The people living in the mountain range have not contacted the outside world for hundreds of years. The people who live in the city are unsure of the situation of the outside world. It's been recorded that at the most glorious period of mankind, having thousands of legend-rank fighters and demon spiritualists, the humans established many empires in the vast continent, but those empires have been wiped out. The city, due to being stealthily located geographically, was well preserved from the Age of Darkness. They would occasionally encounter attacks from powerful snow-wine beasts within the Saint Ancestral Mountains. However, after going through numerous devastating conflicts, the city was rebuilt again and again. These motley walls were an indomitable monument. This city is called Glory City, and it is a symbol of hope for humanity. At the Holy Orchid Institute Fighter Apprentice class, over 30 students are sitting down and are waiting to listen to the female teacher as she imparts her knowledge. The students are a bunch of fighter apprentices. They are Glory City's Holy Orchid Institute students. I heard that the new teacher, Shen Zhu, is one of the Sacred Family's 3-star silver rank demon spiritualists. A few students were discussing softly among themselves. The attention of the students was focused on the teacher. She had a tall figure, was wearing a lavender dress that wrapped tightly against her body, giving an emphasis of her perky chest. She had a pair of slender, white legs, and wore exquisite makeup that made her look beautiful and elegant. Her eyes were full of pride and arrogance. The Sacred Family is one of the 3 major families of Glory City. Because she is of noble birth and a 3-star silver rank demon spiritualist, she naturally has the capital to be proudful. As a 3-star silver rank demon spiritualist, she wouldn't normally come here to teach. She only agreed to because her nephew is in this class. Demon spiritualists and fighters have 5 different ranks, which are bronze, silver, gold, black gold and legend rank. Each rank is then divided into 5 levels, from 1-star to 5-star. A demon spiritualist is above a fighter. We are a truly noble existence. A demon spiritualist can form a soul realm within their dantian. They have the ability to integrate a captured demon into their soul realm and then merge with the demon in combat. This allows them to possess matchless strength, which is far above the strength fighters could compete with. Shen Zhu raised her chin and spoke arrogantly, "Just like me, my demon is a scarlet flame fox." Suddenly, Shen Zhu's face and hands underwent drastic changes. Her facial shape became sharper, her teeth and nails also became sharper. Finally, a scarlet tail emerged from her back. After merging with the demon, I can control its strength as well as gain fire-type abilities. Among the demons, the scarlet flame fox is a gold-rank beast. This means that the highest level I can reach is gold-rank demon spiritualist. Of course, after becoming a gold-rank demon spiritualist, I can replace it with a more powerful demon. When it came to her cultivation, the pride on Shen Zhu's face became thicker. Shen Zhu's words caused a group of students to be amazed. Gold-rank demon spiritualists are existences beyond the reach for most of them. As Shen Zhu continued lecturing on the stage, Neely was sitting in the back row. His mind was in a trance as his soul floated around. After a while, Neely slowly opened his eyes. He couldn't help being confused by the scene in front of him. "Where am I?" Neely quietly asked himself. He was utterly shocked as he realized that his hands became smaller and his skin became a lot more tender. Shen Zhu was on the stage, talking non-stop. Neely clearly remembered that this was the year he joined the institute. The teacher lecturing was a 3-star silver rank demon spiritualist and was extremely arrogant. Because of her, Neely was unwilling to learn for quite some time. "I was actually reborn," Neely was deeply shocked. He remembered being surrounded and attacked by the Sage Emperor and 6 deity-rank beasts and died in the battle. It seems his soul was reborn to the time when he was 13 years old. Neely looked towards the side and saw familiar faces. Lu Piao and Du Zi. These brothers that had shared life and death with him are alive, except their appearances were very immature. And her, Neely looked towards the left. A few meters away from him, a beautiful flawless face came into his field of vision. Her name is Yixian. Although her appearance is only 13-14 years old, she already looked slender and elegant with purple-colored hair pouring down to her waist. She had arched eyebrows, and an intelligent radiance was seen within her eyes. Whenever she smiled, she would have deep dimples. Although she looked a little childish, Neely knows that, when she grows up a bit more, she will be extremely beautiful and enchanting. She wore a silk white dress that gave her a kind of unspeakable elegance. In his previous life, Neely had a deep affection for her ever since he was a teen. She's not dead. Neely was extremely excited to the point that he almost choked. I actually went back in time. Is this real, not a dream? Neely asked himself as he severely pinched himself. The clear pain told him that this wasn't a dream. Suddenly he thought of something. The Temporal Demon Spirit Book. It must have been the Temporal Demon Spirit Book. Neely lowered his head and immediately searched for it, but could not find the Temporal Demon Spirit Book. Neely could not believe that his rebirth, this mysterious phenomenon that happened to him, was not related to the mysterious Temporal Demon Spirit Book. That Temporal Demon Spirit Book's creator was not known. It's a highly mysterious book that Neely always kept with him. He clearly remembered, when he was fighting the Sage Emperor and the 6 deity-rank beasts, that his blood had thoroughly covered the book. It must have been the Temporal Demon Spirit Book that brought him back to when he was only 13. After seeing all these familiar faces, Neely drifted into his distant memory. He remembered when Glory City was under the assault of the Snow Wine Beasts. Glory City's guardian, Lord Yimo, who was a legend-ranked demon spiritualist, died in the battle with the beasts among hundreds of thousands of people. Only a few thousand survived and fled to the desert, east of the Saint Ancestral Mountain Range. During the escape, one survivor after another died in the desert. One day, they were surrounded by the beasts in the desert. Later that night, Neely and Yixian sought the comfort of each other's soul. That night, Neely had finally embraced the goddess in his heart with his arms. Under the night sky, the silver moonlight became a hazy veil. Yixian's exquisite physique, with her crystal-clear skin that looked as though she was molded from a jade sculpture. They embraced each other with a mad passion. If it wasn't for the destruction of Glory City, and for the dreadful escape, he could never have gotten the favor of Yixian. He had ridiculously low talent and was from a declining family. After that night, they encountered another group of beasts and, in order to protect him, Yixian died by the hands of one of the beasts. Neely could never forget that moment. After he experienced the life-threatening attacks, Neely survived and walked out of the endless desert. Although his talent was low, his survival instincts allowed Neely to travel throughout the Divine Continent. He came across many people who were fighting the beasts. He also came across many mysterious things, and of course that Temporal Demon Spirit Book. If it wasn't for the book, Neely wouldn't have been able to come back. That mysterious Temporal Demon Spirit Book actually brought him back through time. He was brought back to before Glory City's destruction. Before his parents, family and brother's death in the battle. Before Yixian's death in the escape. Since I'm back, the heavens have given me another chance. I will not let the destruction of Glory City happen again. Neely said under his breath, gritting his teeth. He firmly made his decision. He vaguely remembers that he should have just enrolled into the institute this year and he should be 13 years old. Neely wanted to laugh happily. I'm back. How nice. Sage Emperor, the next time we meet, I'll slaughter you and avenge my previous life. If it wasn't for the destruction of Glory City, him and Yixian would be from two different worlds. It wouldn't be possible for them to be together. Yixian was the daughter of Glory City's city lord, not to mention that her grandfather is the legend-ranked demon spiritualist Yimo. Neely was from a family who was powerless and was declining. Both of them, in the midst of escape, built up deep feelings for each other. When Yixian entered the school, no one in class knew her identity. Neely only found out about her identity later. Within Glory City, there are three major families: the Divine Family, the Sacred Family, and the Snow Wine Family. They represented the supreme power of Glory City, the pinnacle of the noble families. The city lord was usually chosen from one of these three families. After the three major families were the 7 noble families, and after them were the 12 aristocratic families. Neely belonged to the Heavenly Marks family, which stood at last place of the aristocratic families. Although they have a little status, there is an astronomical difference in status when compared to the 3 major families and the 7 noble families. With Neely's background, wanting to be with Yixian was simply impossible. But, with a firmness that flashed across Neely's eyes, since he was reborn, is all this of still an issue? Although his foundation is currently poor, with the vast knowledge from his previous life, improving his talent isn't impossible. Neely, what are you smiling at? Lu Piao asked, looking puzzled at Neely. He was wondering if he has crazy, since he was giggling by himself for quite some time and was even staring at Yixian with a lecherous look. Just being happy, I'm happy to see you, good brother. Neely stated as he excitedly hugged Lu Piao. It's a habit from his previous life. After being ridiculously hugged by Neely, Lu Piao muttered angrily, Oi, Neely. Who's your good brother, you gay lord? Quickly, release me, Lu Piao struggled. They've just started school not long ago. They were only acquainted for only a few days. They were not close enough for this level of intimacy. Neely didn't loosen his hug. He looked at Lu Piao seriously and chuckled. No matter what you're thinking, in my heart, you're always my good brother. Naturally, Neely couldn't tell Lu Piao the life and death adventures from his previous life. Looking at Neely's gaze, Lu Piao was stunned and couldn't help saying, weirdo. However, no matter what, the words Neely said previously made him feel moved. Lu Piao looked at Neely and said, I know you're one of the nobility in Glory City, but let me warn you, do not have any ideas for that girl. Her identity is extremely mysterious. I heard that when she joined the institute, the principal personally arranged her dorm. Neely slightly grinned. Lu Piao still doesn't know Yixian's identity, which he already knew. She's my woman, Neely declared, looking at the beautiful long-haired girl not far away. His heart was exceptionally firm as he thought of that night's passion. Neely couldn't help feeling hot in his heart. Neely suddenly remembered, he and Yixian are still only 13. Xian, when will you grow up to become that beautiful, enchanting woman? I shall protect you and we will grow up together. Not far away, Yixian felt something. She turned her head and looked towards Neely. She gently wrinkled her brows, and thought that Neely must be a playful noble. Since the start of class, he has been unrestrainedly looking at her. If he dares to provoke her, she not let him off easy. Yixian didn't want to make use her status to make friends, but that doesn't mean that she submit to humiliation when being bullied. Next to Yixian sat a tall and handsome boy who was, occasionally, catching a glimpse of Yixian. He noticed that Yixian was looking at Neely. He threw a furious look towards Neely. His height was slightly taller than Neely, and began emitting a Fankian aura. Naturally, Neely recognized this person. He's Xinyue. He belongs to the sacred family, which is one of the 3 major families and has extraordinary talent. Shenzu, who's currently talking on the stage, is his aunt. In Neely's past life, Xinyue had always been Yixian's pursuer. Before Glory City was destroyed, Xinyue and Yixian almost got married. In the eyes of their families, they had always been a perfect match. If Glory City wasn't destroyed, both of them would have definitely gotten married. Before they underwent the marriage ceremony, Glory City was under the attack of the Snow-Wine beasts. Before the city was broken through by the beasts, the sacred family betrayed Glory City by abandoning their duties and fled. This may be the work of fate. Yixian did not become Shen Yu's wife in his previous life. Instead, she had some kinship activities with Neely. Thinking back, Neely couldn't help laughing in his heart. However, after he saw Yixian and Shen Yu's glares, Neely couldn't help feeling a headache forming. The current Yixian had a few good impressions of Xinyue. The look that Yixian gave to Neely was full of disdain. Yixian must have thought of him as a lazy, playful person. When he saw Yixian look in his direction, Neely felt a lag in his breath. When he saw that familiar face, he began to think of everything that happened in his previous life. Neely couldn't help feeling sour in his nose. He revealed a smile as he looked deeply at Yixian. Many thanks to the Temporal Demon Spirit book, It allowed us to meet once again. Neely silently thought with gratitude. Weirdo, Yixian thought. She felt that Neely's gaze was somewhat strange. His bright eyes shined like stars, with a touch of sadness. Yixian's heart was filled with questions. Does she know Neely? Why does he look at her with that kind of gaze? Yixian's a beauty with white teeth and vermilion lips. She was like a lotus blooming silently, while having an unspeakable cute temperament. This was why there are so many boys fascinated with her. At this point, Shinshu's gaze swept past Neely's body. The action of these 13-14-year-old kids couldn't escape her eyes. She is a silver-ranked demon spiritualist. She already reached the state of having the mind and body being one powerful sixth sense. Her eyesight was extremely keen. She could even see a fleeing rat over 100 meters away. Yixian has a noble identity. She has the status of being the daughter of Glory City's city lord, as well as being the granddaughter of the legend-ranked demon spiritualist, Himo. Not only that, she has a science soul realm formed within her danshin. A rare talent. Only a few people in the Holy Orchid Institute know of Yixian's identity. If Shen Yue manages to have Yixian as his wife, it could strongly strengthen the sacred family's position in Glory City. This is also why he's in the fighter apprentice class. It's also another reason why Shenzhou is teaching this class. Shenzhou reverted her transformation with both of her arms hugging her chest. Her eyes swept across the students and said, "For the next 2 years, all of you are my students." Although the principal mentioned that Holy Orchid Institute students are equal, I have to let you know the ugly truth. In this world, equality doesn't exist, Shenzhou spoke in a slightly shrill voice. Her words were like daggers that heavily stabbed into the hearts of the students. The students below the stage were quietly listening. No one spoke a word. After you have all grown up and left this school, you will agree with my words. Equality is merely a lie that adults fill you with. You can't be living in a fairy tale forever, Shenzhou said, lowering her head to look at the students. Glory City is the only city that has been preserved throughout the Age of Darkness. We are the only surviving humans. Within Glory City there are 2 kinds of powerful existences, the fighters and the demon spiritualists. A demon spiritualist's existence is noble. Only one fighter within thousands or tens of thousands could have a chance of being born a powerful demon spiritualist. Until now, in all of Glory City, only a few thousand demon spiritualists exist. We are the guardians of Glory City. Fighters and demon spiritualists are divided into bronze, silver, gold, black gold and legend ranks. The higher the rank, the more powerful one is. If a family produces a gold-ranked demon spiritualist, they can become an aristocratic family. If a family produced a black gold-ranked demon spiritualist, they can become a noble family. If a family produces 3 black gold-ranked demon spiritualists or a legend-ranked demon spiritualist, that family can become a major family. We have 36 people here. Some come from commoner families, some come from noble families. Although your starting point is the same, your identities are not. I hope each and every one of you has self-awareness and a degree of manners. Commoners will always remain commoners. It's impossible for you to become an aristocratic family, so do not dream of rising up to become a phoenix. Even within nobility, they have a strict difference of levels that can never be exceeded. Under Shenshu's gaze, the students that were simply dressed in the class showed discomfort on their faces. They were embarrassed and lowered their heads. Shenzhou, and a few nobles, proudly pushed out their chests and showed arrogant pride. Only Neely, Yixian, Lu Piao and a few other nobles kept calm. Neely looked to the side. Duzi was wearing slightly worn-out clothing. He was clenching his fists tightly and biting his lips. Duzi came from a commoner family. His family's circumstance is extremely tough. But Neely knows that Duzi's self-esteem is very strong. In Neely's past life, Duzi was very hard-working, even though his family's circumstance wasn't good. His talent isn't too bad, either. With enormous effort, he became a gold-ranked demon spiritualist. He had achieved this without the support of large resources and no exceptional talent. He depended on his own hard work to reach such a level. One can only imagine how much effort he had to put in. Before Glory City was destroyed, many noble families were thinking of how to escape. Only the commoners fought for Glory City down to their last breath. Duzi is Ni Li's friend, one of his most esteemed friends. Seeing Shen Shu's face full of contempt, Ni Li could not help feeling a surge of anger within his heart. In his past life, before Glory City was broken through, the sacred family was the first to flee. Therefore, Ni Li does not have any pleasant impressions for them. Whether it's Shen Yue or Shen Zhu, there weren't any redeeming qualities. In his past life, Shen Zhu was very harsh, which led to Ni Li disliking her. Teacher Shen Zhu, I have a question, Ni Li suddenly spoke. All the students were listening quietly and Ni Li suddenly interrupted her speech. This made Shen Zhu unhappy. Shen Zhu recognized Ni Li since he was the one who had coveted over Yi Ziyan. The words she spoke previously was directed at Ni Li. Who would have thought Ni Li would actually speak up? She coldly snorted. What is it? Teacher Shen Zhu says that Glory City is the only one that survived the Age of Darkness, that we are the only surviving humans. What proof do you have on this statement? May I ask if teacher ever went out of the Saint Ancestral Mountains and visited the Endless Desert, the Toxic Forest, the Blood Moon Marsh, the Spirit Gulf, the Heavenly Luster Mountains, and the Northern Snow before? Ni Li asked. As someone who was reborn and retained his past experiences, Ni Li can completely look down on Shen Zhu. What Heavenly Luster Mountain? What Northern Snow? Shen Zhu frowned. She has heard of the Endless Desert, Toxic Forest and Blood Moon Marsh before, but those places were very far away from the Saint Ancestral Mountains. She has only heard of them in legends. Shen Zhu snorted. I've been in Glory City since birth, and have never been to those places. Ni Li smiled faintly and said, since teacher Shen Zhu never went to those places, how can you be so sure that we are the only human beings alive? Shen Zhu was at a loss for words. The students in the class started to talk quietly. They have no idea what kind of places Ni Li spoke about. Yi Ziyan, who was sitting far away, began to show interest that flashed across her eyes. She curiously looked at Ni Li. How did Ni Li know of those places? Shen Yue, who was sitting beside Yi Ziyan, slightly frowned his brows. He looked towards Ni Li and realized he was quite handsome. Ni Li wasn't below him in terms of looks. Unknowingly, he felt a sense of crisis within his heart. Seeing the students below discussing away, Shen Shu's face was extremely displeased and scoffed. So what? How can you prove that we are not the last surviving human beings? Proof? Ni Li faintly smiled. His experiences from his past life is the proof. Mankind's wisdom is amazing. After experiencing the Age of Darkness, a lot of humans still survived. They built many monumental cities, but he couldn't say that out loud. Instead, he calmly said, let me tell teacher Shen Zhu a story. There was once a frog in the depth of the well. Since his birth, he has always been in that well. Since the start, he could only see a part of the sky, so he claimed that the sky is only as big as the hole of the well. But is the sky only the size of the hole? We could only say that the frog is ignorant. Listening to what Ni Li just said, the students in the class couldn't help laughing. They felt that what Ni Li said makes sense. And the idiom, a frog viewing the sky from the bottom of the well, is indirectly calling teacher Shen Zhu a frog. Viewing the sky from the bottom of the well, what an appropriate description, a few girls said, while giggling away. They all disliked Shen Zhu, and couldn't help looking at Ni Li full of admiration, since Ni Li was the only one daring enough to openly insult a teacher in class. You! Shen Zhu started as she stared at Ni Li. She was furious to the point of almost vomiting blood. Ni Li actually compared her to an ignorant frog. She has never encountered such a rampant student. Yi Ziyan, who was sitting far away, couldn't control her laughter as well. She realized that Ni Li is quite interesting and is rather eloquent with his words. He had actually made teacher Shen Zhu speechless. Yi Ziyan's a natural beauty. Her smile was fascinating. Ni Li winked towards Yi Ziyan and smiled. Seeing Ni Li's expression, Yi Ziyan immediately turned her head back and thought in her heart, such audacity. Ni Li's impression in her heart was still a bad student. Watching Ni Li not only choke teacher Shen Zhu, but also tease Yi Ziyan, Lu Piao couldn't help raising a thumb at him, thinking this guy is awesome. Ni Li looked at Shen Zhu and continued, teacher Shen Zhu, I still have another question. Shen Zhu was about to die from the anger, but she couldn't flare up here. She could only reply in bad mood, what question do you still have? Teacher Shen Zhu said, A commoner will always remain a commoner. They can never become a noble. I have a little question. Was not the legend-ranked demon spiritualist, Yimo, a commoner when he was still young? Neely asked, blinking his eyes a few times and looking at Shinzu. His teacher Shinzu are not aware of this. After listening to what Neely said, the eyes of the commoners in the class lit up. They are all aware of Lord Yumo's story. He was an example to follow when one wants to become a powerful existence. Except, the words that Shinzu spoke of earlier were simply too harsh. This caused them to be depressed. In the hundreds of years of Glory City, Lord Yumo's the only one able to climb to the peak by relying on his own ability, said Shinzu, showing a moment of lag. She quickly retaliated with her far-fetched reply. But didn't teacher Shinzu say that it's impossible? Why are you being so self-contradicting? Neely coldly sneered. Lord Yumo is a clear-cut example. No matter if it's a noble or commoner, the future's potential is infinite. Nothing is difficult as long as one is willing to climb. Shinzu almost exploded. This guy is too spiteful. He keeps catching the loopholes in her words and constantly attacks. He has no respect for an elder. She gazed coldly at Neely. He dared to openly contradict her in front of so many people. She not let Neely have it easy in the coming future. Not far away from Neely, Duzi looked at Neely. His eyes were full of gratitude. Although Neely is a noble, he still ran the risk of offending teacher Shinzu by helping the commoners speak up. This made him very touched. A teenager's heart is very primitive, hence, he has already saw Neely as his friend. Shinzu sneered, smart mouth. You think that putting things this way could change the harsh reality. You only looked at Lord Yumo's glorious moment, but didn't look at how many people have failed. Not to mention being a demon spiritualist. Even becoming a fighter in itself is a difficult thing to achieve. Neely, right, you can be considered a bloodline of an aristocratic family. Since you don't know when to come and go, I'll see what kind of talent you have. Shinzu lowered her head and took a look at the parchment paper in her hands. After taking a glimpse of the contents, she mockingly laughed. Neely, Red Soul Realm, current Soul Force 5, Strength 21. With your talent you can only reach bronze rank fighter in your entire life. Wanting to become a demon spiritualist is simply impossible. You're even inferior to some of the commoners. No wonder you dare to speak in this way. You are just trying to hide your own low self-esteem. A soul realm's grade is differentiated by the colors red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, azure, and indigo. Of the 7 different grades, red is considered the worst. It's the weakest to the lowest level. An average person would have an orange or yellow soul realm. Having a green or cyan soul realm could already be considered a genius. As for azure and indigo soul realms, they have only existed in legends. After hearing what Shinzu said, the group of commoner students began to feel sorry for Neely. As someone of nobility, Neely's talent could be considered the worst. They feared that it would be difficult for him to have any achievements in his life. Yuzian looked at Neely and sighed gently. Although her impression of Neely isn't good, knowing his talent is so terrible, she couldn't help feeling sorry for him. Shen Yue, who was sitting next to Yuzian, curled his lips in disdain. If he knew sooner of Neely's horrible talent, he wouldn't have considered Neely a threat, as Neely is simply not qualified. With his horrible talent, he could only live at the lowest levels of Glory City, and he, Shen Yue, was one of the 3 major families. As a sacred family direct bloodline, how could Neely compete with him? If it wasn't for Yuzian, he wouldn't even come to this trash class and be in the company of trash like Neely. Shinzu aggressively continued, with such talent, even within your family, you won't be able to get any attention. Yet, you act so rampant and are rude to your elders. Shinzu's words made Neely recall his past. Before Glory City was destroyed, Neely was indeed very weak. Just as Shinzu said, he had remained a 3-star bronze rank and was unable to advance any further. No attention was given to him, no matter if it's within the institute or back with his family. He was treated as if he was dust. If it wasn't for Neely saving Yuzian without any regard for his life, it wouldn't even be possible to get his goddess's favor. Yuzian was already a 1-star gold-ranked demon spiritualist at that point of time. The distance between the two was like a chasm. In the end, Neely wasn't even qualified to fight beside Yi Ziyan. He could only watch as Yi Ziyan died by the claws of a beast in front of him as her body slowly submerged into the desert sand. This had always been a needle in Neely's heart. With pure luck, he walked out of the endless desert alive. Neely had various mysterious encounters and realized that even the so-called Soul Force talent could also be upgraded. If this was his past life, Neely certainly wouldn't have the courage to refute when being criticized by a teacher. But he's different now. He's confident that one day he will let these people who look down on him know that he will reach a realm that they can never imagine. Since he's back, he must be indomitable, even if it means slaughtering any gods or Buddha stopping his path. Everyone was surprised that even though Neely was being ridiculed by teacher Shinzyu, there wasn't any shame shown on his face. On the contrary, his gaze was firmly locked onto Shinju's and he said, "Teacher Shinzyu, you feel that a person's soul realm decides a person's future, right? With that despicable character of yours, you'll only defend the gifted and mock the mediocre. And yet, you still speak a bunch of principles. You're just merely trying to cover your despicable character." Hearing Neely's words, Shinju's body quivered with anger. She had never met this kind of student. He actually dared to contradict her so badly. Neely's words directly hit the hidden thoughts within her heart, causing her to be enraged. She cursed uncontrollably. Silence. Who do you think you are to discredit your teacher? Neely curled his lips in disdain. I feel ashamed to have a teacher like you. I can guarantee that in this class, there will be a lot of commoners exceeding your imagination. They will have unimaginable achievements. Instead of coaching them patiently, you use harsh words to attack their self-confidence. You're not worthy to be a teacher, although my talent is weak, so what? One day, I will become a legend-ranked demon spiritualist like Lord Yimo and marry the most beautiful woman in Glory City. As he spoke, Neely's gaze fell on Yi Ziyan, who was sitting far away. His eyes shined with an absolute resolve. When she saw Neely looking towards her, without knowing why, Yi Ziyan suddenly felt her heart speed up. Her cheeks were burning red. She had never thought that Neely would actually be so bold and say something like this in class. After meeting Neely's gaze, she knew his meaning was clear. Except, in her heart, she doesn't have any feelings for Neely. After hearing Neely's speech, she had an indescribable feeling within her. Seeing Yi Ziyan's expression, Shin-Yu's face turned a dull color. Although he and Neely aren't of the same standard, he still felt a bit threatened by him. Ha ha ha, this is the funniest joke I've ever heard. A Red Soul Realm actually said that he wants to become a legend-ranked demon spiritualist like Lord Yimo. Even when Lord Yimo was younger, he was already tested and showed to have amazing talent. He had a Science Soul Realm. You think success relies on luck alone? Ridiculous. Shinsu mocked mercilessly. Rather than being a smart mouth here, why don't you start learning seriously? Neely's next words were powerful and resonating. I know your heart is full of contempt, but one day I will shut your mouth with hard facts. Aptitude cannot determine a person's achievement. We use the weak to defeat the strong, to overcome the heavens. We practitioners are already challenging the impossible by going against the way of the heavens. Neely's words couldn't stop causing the students in the class to feel their blood surging. Practicing was already going against the way of the heavens. If one did not oppose the heavens, how could they talk about practice? Neely enunciated powerfully, without a continuously fighting heart, without the courage to turn the impossible possible, even possessing extraordinary talent would be useless. Since I, Neely, was born into this world, I shall challenge the impossible. Teacher Shinzyu, how about having a bet with me? Although Neely experienced numerous setbacks in his previous life, he never gave up. Since the heavens gave him the chance to be reborn, in this life he will use unimaginable speed to climb to the top. What bet? Shinzyu sneered. We'll bet that on the coming test in 2 months' time, I will be able to reach bronze rank. If I fail to do so, I will resign from the institute. If I reach bronze rank, then you will resign. How about it? Neely said unyieldingly, looking at Shinzyu. Listening to what Neely said, everyone was taken aback. They were all surprised that Neely actually proposed this kind of bet with teacher Shinzyu. Although they were hoping the Neely wins, they felt that there's no way the Neely can win. Ha ha ha. You're funny enough to actually say that you will reach bronze rank within 2 months. You think that you can raise your soul force from 5 to 100 in 2 months? Shenzu's face was full of spite. Has Nili gone crazy? I only asked one question. Do you dare or not? Nili ignored what Shenzu just said. That being the case, why would I not dare? I do not believe an egotistical brat like you can achieve anything. Who do you think you are boasting to? Shenzu angrily snorted. Such rudeness to your teacher. For the next 2 months, you will stand at the back of the classroom and listen to the class. Shenzu's famous for being unreasonable. Nili looked contemptuously at Shenzu. So what if he's standing at the back of the class? For Nili, this little punishment is superficial. Since teacher Shenzu agreed to the bet, don't regret it later, said Nili as he strolled to the back of the class. I'll regret it, what a joke. Don't come crying to me later, Shenzu laughed. Seeing Nili standing at the back, a few noble kids started to mockingly whisper. The future legend-ranked demon spiritualist got punished standing. Tut, so he's afraid of withdrawal from the institute. Weren't you being egotistic a while ago? 2 months to raise his soul force from 5 to 100. Who does he think he is? Even when Lord Yumo was younger, he couldn't even reach such frightening speed. Shenzu sneered. So what if Nili is being egotistic? Doesn't she still have the final word in the classroom? She naturally didn't bother with what Nili said. 2 months to raise his soul force from 5 to 100. Shenzu thought of it as a joke. This will absolutely not happen. Just look forward to Nili's withdrawal from the institute. Because Nili was punished to stand at the back of the class by Shenzu, Duzi was silent for a moment. He gritted his teeth, then rose up and went to stand beside Nili. Nili was punished for helping the commoners speak up, so naturally, he wants to stand together with Nili. Seeing that Duzi stood beside Nili at the back of the class, Shenzu's eyes darkened and hummed. Since you also like standing, you can stand together with him. Nili and Duzi looked at each other. Their eyes flashed a sense of rapport and lightly smiled at each other. At this moment, Nili felt as though he was back in his past life when he and Duzi were best friends. Duzi is still that Duzi. After Duzi stood at the side of Nili, Lupiao was submerged in his thoughts for a moment and then stood beside Nili. Nili smiled as he asked, "Why are you here?" Lupiao shrugged, "Sitting down is pretty boring. I feel more cool standing, can't I?" "Haha, that suits you," Nili laughed. Lupiao is still the same as his past. Although he speaks a lot of bullshit, he is very loyal. This punishment had nothing to do with Lupiao, but he thought of Nili as a friend, and friends should share their fates together. Successively, 3 other commoner kids stood up and stood by Nili's side. Nili belonged to a noble family, but he took the risk of withdrawing from the institute to speak up for them. They were grateful for that, so they felt that they have to support Nili. With these brothers by his side, Nili felt that it wasn't so bad to be punished and his mood turned exceptionally cheerful. When she saw this, Shenzu's facial expression turned ugly. She put on a cold face and continued her lecture. After being tested, among the students in this class, Yixian, with a Science Soul Realm, has a soul force of 86. Shenyue and Zininger both have a Green Soul Realm, with a soul force of 78. They will soon reach 1-star bronze rank. Congratulations to them, Shenzu lightly said. Her gaze fell on Nili for a moment. This is real talent. What's Nili compared to them? Listening to Shenzu's words, the students in the class all cried out in surprise. A Science Soul Realm, with a soul force of 86. Such an amazing person is actually in their class. With such powerful talent, she's got the chance to become a legend-ranked demon spiritualist in her lifetime. As for Shenyue and Zininger, they also had extraordinary talent. Their future achievements were limitless. Yixian's origins were unknown. She was a fresh and beautiful appearance with an extraordinary talent and mysterious background. This made her the most dazzling figure in the class. As for Zhao, her appearance is not less than Yixian, but her talent was slightly inferior compared to her. No matter what, ordinary people have no hope of catching up to them. Nili glanced towards Zininger. She had a slim figure, was wearing a short, yellow skirt, and a pair of high-heeled boots. Her black hair draped over her shoulders. She had bright, clear eyes, curved eyebrows, and long eyelashes that slightly trembled. Her flawless white skin revealed touches of pink, and delicate lips were like rose petals. Aside from having a charming feel to her, she had an indescribable, wild beauty and a cold expression on her face that added a different kind of taste. Ni Li's eyes went heavy when he remembered that Zhao Ninger was the first child of the winged dragon family. She was part of one of the 7 noble families. Her soul force talent was only beneath Yi Zian. Before Glory City was destroyed, she had already become a silver-ranked demon spiritualist. Together with Yi Zian, they became the younger generation's twin Gemini. The only thing is, in order to curry favor with one of the 3 major families, the winged dragon family forced Zi Ninger to marry into the sacred family. She would have had to marry Shen Yu's elder brother. But she was unwilling, hence, she left her family and went into the Saint Ancestral Mountains Black Devil Forest and never came back. She's an unyielding woman. Ni Li felt sorry for Zhao Ninger. If given the chance, he will definitely help Zhao Ninger in this life. But if asked if he has any affection for Zhao Ninger, there would be none. In Ni Li's heart, there's only Yi Zian. In the fighter and demon spiritualist tests in 2 months' time, I hope that there will be a few 1-star bronze ranked demon spiritualists. Both myself and the Holy Orchid Institute will feel proud of you, Shenzi laughed. Bronze, silver, gold, black gold, legend. These 5 ranks are further broken down into 1 to 5-star levels, and thus obtaining a 1-star bronze rank is considered the starting point. Once a fighter's strength or demon spiritualist's soul force reaches 100, they can be considered a 1-star bronze rank. Entering the entry level is extremely difficult. Lots of people are unable to step into the entry level to become a real fighter or demon spiritualist. Hearing Shen Shu's words, the students in the class started whispering to one another. In order to become a 1-star bronze rank fighter, you must be able to lift up a 100-pound rock and break a tree as thick as an arm with a punch in order to reach 1-star bronze rank. For these kids, it's simply too difficult. Unless one has been consuming elixirs since birth, it will be hard to achieve. As for becoming a demon spiritualist, one is required to refine a large amount of soul force within their body. This is a lot harder to accomplish compared to becoming a fighter. Soul realms are divided into 7 colors: red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, azure, and indigo. A normal human would have a red soul realm. For them to become a demon spiritualist, it is nearly impossible. They would normally choose to become a fighter instead. As for people with orange and yellow soul realms, they're more suitable to train in soul force. The people with green or cyan soul realms are considered extraordinary talents. The students in the class all looked at Yi Ziyun, Shen Yue, and Zhao Ninger. They envied them because they are the only ones that could become a 1-star bronze rank in less than half a year. After becoming a 1-star bronze rank, they can then enter into the official fighter class or official demon spiritualist class. At that time, they won't be in the same class as them. Feeling the gaze of other students, Shen Yue proudly puffed his chest out. As a member of the sacred family, he's had all kinds of elixirs ever since he was young. He has already long surpassed his peers. It would be an easy thing to get his soul force to hit 100 in 2 months. He shall await the test in 2 months' time. Shen Yue looked at the elegant Yi Zian beside him. Only he's worth of her. Ni Li's considered nothing. He actually dared to bet with his aunt that he will become a 1-star bronze rank in 2 months. So egotistical and ignorant, Ni Li thought that it's easy to become a 1-star bronze rank. A red soul realm trash dared to make such an egotistical statement. Ha! Yi Zian and Zi Ninger looked each other in the eyes. They both had superior origins, which was certainly not bad. Yi Zian always wanted to be friends with Zi Ninger, but Zi Ninger had always seen her as a rival. She set her as the target and continued to work hard to reach her. Shenzhu looked towards Ni Li with contempt in her eyes and spoke in a disdainful tone. As for those who claim they can reach 1-star bronze rank within 2 months, I want to see to what extent they can actually reach. One soul realm and physical condition determines a person's cultivation speed. For Ni Li's situation, according to normal levels, he would need at least 3 to 5 years to reach entry level. Even if he becomes 1-star bronze rank, becoming a demon spiritualist while having a red soul realm is simply dreaming. Neely did not put Shen Shu's words to heart. 2 months. There's still time to spare, said Neely as the side of his mouth turned, showing a faint confident smile. Watch how I'll become 1-star bronze rank within 2 months. Privately, Neely, Lu Piao and Du Zi were conversing. Neely, do you like Yixian? Lu Piao asked, looking at Neely. Yes, Neely said truthfully. Lu Piao stared into Neely's eyes. After a while he sighed. Yixian's a beauty indeed. And seeing that you're my brother, I shall not fight with you. But as a brother, I have to warn you, Yixian's identity is too noble. She isn't someone we can match. Although his family belongs to one of the 12 aristocratic families, Yixian's identity compared to him is simply astronomical. You too, can you be more realistic? Yixian's a super genius with a Saiyan soul realm. Soon she become a 1-star bronze ranked demon spiritualist. I estimate that in 2 months' time she'd be able to enter the official demon spiritualist class. After entering the official demon spiritualist class, her cultivation will definitely soar. Whether she remembers you or not is still a problem. What I hate the most is your kind of noble offspring is constantly thinking of how to chase after girls, when you don't even know how to work hard and train. Du Zi snorted, relentlessly. What do you mean by noble offspring constantly thinking of chasing after girls? You're slandering. I've always been hardworking, okay? At most, I've only used half a day to think of girls. Lu Piao shrugged his shoulders. Good heavens, what kind of people did I get involved with? Said Du Zi, rolling his eyes. Du Zi's talent isn't bad. He has a yellow soul realm and works very hard with his training. Plus, he would have a mysterious encounter later on, which would allow him to reach the stage of 1-star gold ranked demon spiritualist. He would lead his family and become one of the aristocratic families. These are amazing achievements. Du Zi's a very loyal person, but slightly old-fashioned and takes things seriously. In contrast with Du Zi, Lu Piao's a dandyish young master. Although he only has a red soul realm, he had high fighter talents. If he puts in the effort and works hard, his cultivation would definitely soar. However, he's simply too lazy. In Neely's previous life, he only reached silver rank, had a huge difference compared to Du Zi. But life is intriguing. Although they are two completely different kinds of people, they still became brothers in their previous life. Listening to Lu Piao and Du Zi's arguments, Neely in his previous life used to feel that it was unhealthy. But right now, Neely's heart was touched. He has these kinds of brothers, how fantastic. Neely, I recommend you to give up. Focus on your training instead, Du Zi said, persuading Neely seriously. If Neely really fell for her, it'll be an extremely sad thing. In his past life, Neely couldn't get away from loving her. After he found out about Shen Yue and Yixian's engagement, he became heartbroken. But in this life, if he's still as useless as a scrap of wood, he might as well commit suicide. Don't worry, I'm well aware of the things that I want to do and they will definitely be accomplished. Neely spoke with confidence. Listening to Neely's words, Du Zi and Lu Piao staggered for a moment. They're unable to imagine where Neely got such confidence. After they saw Neely's expression, they had a feeling that he could certainly accomplish it. They couldn't help but be influenced by Neely's mood. Du Zi thought for a moment and spoke up, fine. No matter what you do, we will always support you. Being punished and standing together caused them to produce a strong brotherly relationship. Du Zi, Lu Piao, I will let the both of you become the strongest demon spiritualists. Neely said heavily. In his previous life, Du Zi and Lu Piao shared life and death with him. They had fought and saved his life many times, and now that he's back, he'll naturally help Du Zi and Lu Piao fulfill their dreams. Forget it. I only have a red soul realm. With the support of my family's elixirs, becoming a fighter wouldn't be an issue. Becoming a demon spiritualist would be too hard. Said Lu Piao, starting to back out. What's the use of becoming a fighter? The higher you climb, the harder it is to train, and a fighter can't be a match for a demon spiritualist. In the battlefield, a legend rank fighter isn't even worth a black gold rank demon spiritualist. You must know that demon spiritualists are powerful combat forces, argued Du Zi. He was filled with hope to become a demon spiritualist. If he wants to do something, he will give it his best. That's his principle. No need to become a legend rank fighter. If I can become a gold rank fighter, I'd be satisfied, Lu Piao said frankly, completely unmoved, Duzi speechless. Nothing can be said to an aimless person. You have a red soul realm, so what? I also a red soul realm, Neely said, looking towards Lu Piao. Lu Piao and Duzi were puzzled. Neely has a red soul realm, yet he actually had the confidence to say that he'll reach 1-star bronze rank in 2 months. Could he have some special methods? Neely, what methods do you have to refine soul force in order to raise your demon spiritualist level? Duzi asked. He's very curious. From what he knows, there's no shortcut in training one's soul force. Just listen to me. As long as you don't back down, you can become a powerful demon spiritualist. Back down, never, Duzi firmly said. He will become stronger to change his family's fate. In this matter, he'll never back out. If it's possible to become a demon spiritualist, Lu Piao is naturally very happy. If he can become a demon spiritualist, he won't be beaten by his dad for being lazy. Lu Piao belongs to the kind of people where if there's an opportunity to slack off, he wouldn't let it go. Will it be very troublesome? Lu Piao mumbled. Duzi threw him a look. This fella is hopeless. He wants to become a demon spiritualist without any difficulties. To become a demon spiritualist, how can it not be troublesome? If he can become a demon spiritualist, he'd do anything, no matter how hard it is. It's not troublesome, replied Neely as he shook his head. His complexion was normal when he continued, we just need a lot of money. If it can be solved as long as you have money, this is too easy, stated Lu Piao as he loosened his breath. How much do you need? I have a lot. I saved up to 1,000 demon spirit coins. If I can become a demon spiritualist, I can afford to spend it all. If 2,000 demon spirit coins can get you a demon spiritualist title, it's simply too awesome. Neely looked at Lu Piao. Lu Piao had a lot of nerve to think that 2,000 demon spirit coins can be considered a lot. Helplessly, Neely said, what can 2,000 demon spirit coins do? Of course, it's not enough. You'll need at least millions of demon spirit coins, or even tens of millions of demon spirit coins. Duzi and Lu Piao took a deep breath. 1 million demon spirit coins. That's the same as an aristocratic family's annual income. Where can they get so much money? Demon spirit coins are the currency used in Glory City. Usually, 2,000 to 3,000 demon spirit coins would be sufficient for a commoner family's annual expenses. The value of items in Glory City is measured with demon spirit coins. For example, battle armors, demon crystals, demon beast furs, elixirs, and various other items. The Holy Orchid Institute's annual school fee would be around 3,000 demon spirit coins. For a commoner family, this would be a huge expense for them. But a lot of commoner families would rather live frugally and send their children to the Holy Orchid Institute. This is because, once they become a fighter or a demon spiritualist, even if it's only bronze rank, they can change their family's fate. A bronze rank fighter, if they join the army and become a soldier, would have an annual salary of about 5,000 to 6,000 demon spirit coins. At the same time, they can also venture into the Saint Ancestral Mountains and gain more benefits from it. Neely belongs to the Heavenly Mark family. It is a relatively declining aristocratic family. The patriarch is a 1-star gold rank demon spiritualist. The family's annual income is around 600,000 demon spirit coins. The family's annual expenses is very large. Just the expenses of the children's school fees would be around 300,000 demon spirit coins. This, along with various other expenses, often made the family struggle to make ends meet. With no choice but to sell some of the family business to support themselves, the Heavenly Mark family was able to get all of the younger generations into the Holy Orchid Institute. The patriarch once said that only an outstanding member of the younger generations could get the family to rise once again. Even if they had to live with a high toll, they would let every single young generation the largest nurturing they can give. In his previous life, Neely didn't quite understand this sentence. He felt strange about the patriarch Nihai's actions. The patriarch was very strict with them. After his rebirth, Neely could finally understand the patriarch's care and thought. As a member of the Heavenly Mark family, he also wanted the family to grow stronger and become Glory City's top level. After his rebirth, Ni Li's memory had a lot of powerful cultivation techniques. Before that, he would have to make some money to buy a few primary soul crystals. In order to test his soul realm's attributes, he needs a soul crystal. Then, he can decide on which cultivation technique to practice with. If the cultivation technique matches one's soul realm attributes, then training would be more effective. Dong, dong, dong. The bell went off throughout Glory City. Class has ended. The Holy Orchid Institute students rushed out of the huge gates and passed through the bustling street in front. The merchants sounded off one after another. Latest bronze rank battle armors, with snow wine patterns inscribed on them. Noble ladies and gentlemen, are you interested? A vendor with a gray tunic greeted the crowd with so much enthusiasm. This had soon attracted the attention of many students. Bronze rank armor isn't something an ordinary student can afford. However, within the Holy Orchid Institute, there's still a lot of children of nobility. Some of them are extremely loaded, and they can sell to those rich students if they were lucky enough. Look, bronze rank armor with snow wine patterns inscribed on it. The students were excited and talked to one another. A pair of gauntlets were exuding a deep blue light. The surface was covered with mysterious carvings and revealed a faint chilling frost. How much is this? One student asked in a low voice. 60,000 demon spirit coins. The vendor said while smiling. Good heavens, so expensive. An ordinary family couldn't even accumulate 60,000 demon spirit coins in 10 years. This is bronze rank armor with snow wine patterns inscribed on it. The snow wine pattern was drawn using the blood of a snow wine banshee. The banshee was at its prime before being killed. The snow wine banshee isn't easy to hunt. Their characteristics also made the gauntlets gain a strong attacking ability. This is definitely a suitable armor for snow wine type fighters or demon spiritualists. The vendor bragged as he introduced the armor. Many students looked at the pair of gauntlets with nostalgia, but they still left. Such an expensive item isn't something they can afford. If bronze rank armor alone cost 60,000 demon spirit coins, then wouldn't silver rank armor and gold rank armor be even more expensive? Lu Piao muttered. His monthly allowance was only about 500 demon spirit coins. Lu Piao's family has a lot of business, so Lu Piao can be considered well off. In his previous life, Lu Piao would often help Ni Li and Duzi, but even if Lu Piao had some money, bronze rank armor isn't something he can afford. As Ni Li, Lu Piao, and Duzi walked, they looked around. This street was filled with all kinds of items. No matter what item, be it expensive or cheap, can be found here. Ni Li, what are you planning? Asked Lu Piao, confused while Ni Li looked around. As they were talking, a figure arrived in front of the vendor. Look, it's Shen Yue, Lu Piao stated, directing Shen Yu's location with his mouth, and also Yizian. Ni Li looked towards that direction. He only saw Yizian and a few girls happily chatting. That pretty face and sweet smile of hers was full of sunshine. Among the group of girls, Yizian's smile was definitely the most dazzling, which made everyone look at her. Everything around here became more vibrant because of Yizian's existence. Shen Yue also looked at her from time to time. Very good. I'm lacking bronze rank gauntlets. Wrap this bronze rank gauntlet up for me, Shen Yue lightly said to the vendor. Yes, young master. The vendor immediately grinned upon hearing Shen Yu's words and quickly wrapped the gauntlet up. Here's 60,000 demon spirit coins. Shen Yue took out 6 demon crystal cards. A single demon crystal card represents 10,000 demon spirit coins. He made 60,000 demon spirit coins look light. With an I don't give a shit kind of expression, he placed the bronze rank gauntlets into his interspatial ring. Several girls around him let out light muffled voices. He easily took out 60,000 demon spirit coins, so rich. Several of the slightly pretty girls had the look in their eyes brighten up. They threw flirtatious gazes at Shen Yue. However, Shen Yue treated them as though they were invisible. He proudly looked towards Ni Li's group of 3. Then, he looked towards Yizian. His eyes clearly said, I only have eyes for you. How despicable, Lu Piao growled. This is a silver bullet attack. Tyrant, easily throwing out 60,000 demon spirit coins, and even having an interspatial ring, Duzi spread out his hands. Shaking his head, he looked at Neely and said, "Neely, people like him are handsome and rich. What can you compete against him with?" Heh. Xian doesn't care about that amount of money, Neely casually spoke. He swept his gaze towards Xian. She completely ignored Shen Yu's action and was talking to the few girls beside her. Her eyes were occasionally looking at Zhao Ninger, but Zhao Ninger stood absent-mindedly on one side. Xi Ninger's expression was cold. She's usually a lone wolf and doesn't have much contact with the other students. Neely knows that what Yixian wants the most right now is friendship. In his previous life, Yixian always wanted to be friends with Xi Ninger, but their identities led them further apart instead. Looking at Yixian's expression, Shen Yue was somewhat disappointed. Fine, Yixian indeed doesn't care about money. Neely, she wouldn't like females, right? If so, your game's over, Lu Piao blinked, teasing Neely. Neely laughed. He naturally won't put Lu Piao's words to heart. In his previous life, he was Yixian's only man. Let's go, I'm starting my plan. Duzi and Lu Piao expression turned solemn, nodded their heads. Lu Piao, go buy 2 crossbows and 500 crossbow bolts. A crossbow costs 160 demon spirit coins each and the bolts cost 30 demon spirit coins each. Don't get cheated by hawkers. Neely told Lu Piao, we'll meet up at the school's training ground. Okay, said Lu Piao, nodding his head and feeling a bit curious in his heart. Did Neely buy crossbows and crossbow bolts in the past, since he knows the price of them? Neely's monthly allowance is only 50 demon spirit coins, so he doesn't have enough to buy expensive things. Duzi, we'll go buy black pool grass, Neely said. Black pool grass has a certain paralysis effect. Duzi's situation is even worse than Neely's. Naturally, Neely wouldn't let Duzi use his money. So when buying those herbs, Neely was the one paying. Black pool grass is very cheap. 1 demon spirit coin can buy a bunch of it. In addition, Neely also bought some low-level fusing agents and went to a small hill at the side of Glory City to collect some zoysia grass. What are you planning to do? Duzi curiously asked. Neely laughed mysteriously. Black pool grass has a certain paralysis effect, but the efficiency is very low. It is generally used to smear on wounds to relieve some pain. As for zoysia grass, it is a very common weed, so no one has found a use for them yet. However, if it's used with a fusing agent and black pool grass, it can greatly strengthen the paralysis effect of the black pool grass. Duzi was stunned for a moment and then asked, how strong is the paralysis effect? Neely laughed and said, it doesn't have much effect on ordinary demon beasts. The effect is worse than a low-grade paralyzing agent. But did you know that the horned sheep never eats zoysia grass? Horned sheep, repeated Duzi and went silent for a moment. As if he vaguely guessed something, his eyes lit up. Neely, would you happen to be an alchemist? An alchemist? Neely thought a while and laughed. I guess so. An alchemist is referring to those who use herbs to refine elixirs or people that allocate prescriptions. Neely isn't an alchemist. In his previous life, he only had slight knowledge of them. However, Glory City's alchemist standards was simply too low. They can't even be considered real alchemists. Neely can look down on those so-called alchemists in Glory City. When Neely was having his adventure around the continent, he entered the toxic forest. The people living in toxic forest had survived countless attacks from poisonous demon beasts. They can be considered real alchemists. Neely started mixing the grasses and fusing agents, getting a total of 6 full bottles of the drug. At the Holy Orchid Institute training grounds. The training grounds were established by the legend-ranked demon spiritualist Lord Yumo and the principal of the school, who was a black gold-ranked demon spiritualist. The training grounds were surrounded by towering walls. Every year, experts in Glory City would capture some low-level demon beasts and place them into the training grounds. Any Holy Orchid Institute student who is below silver rank can enter the grounds. Students can hunt the demon beasts inside and obtain fur, demon crystals, and various other beast materials from them and dispose of them freely at their own choice. Some of the poorer students can hunt inside the training ground to help with their family's financial situation. Neely's group of 3 haven't even reached 1-star bronze rank yet, so the place that they are going to is the training ground's safest area. There are only horned sheep in that area. Although horned sheep are very aggressive in nature, they are still herbivores. Therefore, their attacks would only cause serious injuries, so they can be considered safe. Ni Li's group of 3 entered the training grounds after they had their identities verified by the guards at the entrance. At the training grounds apprenticeship area. Within the sparse trees, there would be patches of grass fields with horned sheep slowly pacing them. Their eyes were red. Occasionally, they would prick up their ears to listen. Once an outsider enters their territory, they would mercilessly attack him. Suddenly, an abnormal sound was heard. The horned sheep closest to Ni Li's group let out a growl and rushed towards the direction of the abnormal sound. That Ni Li, he actually told me to be the bait. Simply outrageous. Lu Piao looking at the horned sheep that was charging towards him. This scared the crap out of him, making him stumble as he ran backwards. Meanwhile, Duzi and Ni Li were hiding in the bush. They were holding crossbows in their hands. My goodness, this horned sheep is so scary. Shoot, shoot it, Lu Piao yelled. When he saw the horned sheep getting closer, he ran non-stop. This Lu Piao, didn't we agree to have him stay still and not move? The horned sheep would have surely fallen for the trap. However, once he ran, the sheep deviated from the trap's direction. Ni Li frowned. The trap is actually a small, two-finger pit, and once the horned sheep carelessly stepped into the trap, it would have definitely fractured its leg. Firing bolts at it, once that happened, would have caused the result to be much better. Seeing Lu Piao run in a panic, Duzi also got nervous and continuously pulled the trigger at the sheep. 3 crossbow bolts shot out from the crossbow. That horned sheep is a demonized creature. It hasn't been injured, so the reaction of the horned sheep is extremely fast. When it sensed the 3 bolts that were being shot at its direction, with its fast reflexes, it immediately made a few jumps and caused the 3 crossbow bolts to graze past the sheep, hence, dodging the bolt. What? Missed? Lu Piao was perplexed as the horned sheep's horn closed in on him. Thinking that Ni Li and Duzi actually made this kind of mistake, he almost bursted into tears in his heart. He began to think that he made a mistake in making friends. If the sharp horn reaches him, it will instantly be able to make his ass flowering. When he saw the horned sheep dodge the crossbow bolts, and continued its charge at Lu Piao, made Duzi's hands covered in sweat. If he tried to load another bolt onto the crossbow, he would be too late. He could imagine the scene of Lu Piao's but being stabbed by the horned sheep's horn in his head. Ni Li, what should we do? Duzi immediately went silent after speaking halfway. He was afraid to disturb Ni Li. Ni Li half squatted. His left arm was straightened with the crossbow over his left arm. His right hand was clenching the trigger. His eyes were glued to the side, and the crossbow was so stable it was as though it was placed onto a holder. Duzi had an indescribable feeling. Ni Li had yet to fire a bolt, but Duzi had a feeling that the bolt will surely hit the horned sheep. Ni Li, at this moment, was like a cheetah crouching in the bushes, waiting for his prey. He was releasing an awe-inspiring aura. Although his physique is weak and he was not even a bronze rank fighter yet, the rich experience from his previous life was still there. The experience was accumulated with every bloody battle Ni Li went through. Some were even near-death experiences. No matter what kind of weapon, be it swords, crossbows, or even a piece of metal. In the hands of Ni Li, they would all become deadly weapons. Even though Ni Li wasn't a bronze rank fighter yet, he had countless methods to kill a bronze rank or even a silver rank fighter. The surrounding area seemed to have only one person there. The look Ni Li had in his eyes was like a hawk waiting to catch its prey. Ni Li's slightly significant tender cheeks, firm look, and gestures would give others a feeling of a lake without depth. Ni Li pulled the trigger and a crossbow bolt was unleashed. The bolt that left turned into a silvery light and gracefully flew quickly. The angle that Ni Li targeted was in the blind spot of the horned sheep's sight. It hit. Seeing the bolt fly past, Duzi's heart was surprised. Ni Li gave him a weird feeling. It was as though he was a veteran shooter. The horned sheep didn't manage to dodge in time. Plop. The bolt hit the back leg of the horned sheep. Thud. The horned sheep fell onto the ground wailing. landed in front of Lupio and raised dust all around it. Lupio was gasping for air. He was extremely nervous. When he saw the horned sheep wailing non-stop, couldn't help thinking, my god, that was too exciting. My goodness, my butt was spared. If Neely's bolt was slightly slower, he would have been hit by that horned sheep. If the bolt was an ordinary bolt, this kind of injury wouldn't even affect a demonized horned sheep and it would have definitely gotten up again. However, the bolt that they were using wasn't an ordinary bolt. It was smeared with the drug mix from Blackpool grass and zoysia grass. It simply became the nemesis of horned sheeps. The drug swiftly went along with the blood vessels and reached the heart of the horned sheep. Soon, the wailing sound of the horned sheep was getting softer and softer. So fast, Duzi was surprised. He never thought that the drug that Neely mixed would have such a strong effect. After a moment, the robust sheep completely lost its resistance. Lupio was also surprised. He fully understood the strength of these sheep, which was the strength of two bronze rank fighters combined. It usually required a long time to defeat one, but this horned sheep was defeated with just a small bolt. That was too thrilling. Whenever Lupio thought of the scene from earlier, it would bring back the fear that was lingering within him. If you hadn't run, that horned sheep wouldn't have been a threat to you. Neely faintly laughed. Okay, muttered Lupio, with his face turning red. He didn't act according to the plan, and immediately panicked when he saw the horned sheep charging in his direction. Seeing the fallen horned sheep, Lupio felt as if he was still living in a dream. Neely's look and action from earlier till now was deeply engraved within his mind, leaving him with deep admiration. Ever since he was young, this was the first time Lupio had truly admired someone. Neely's shooting skill was simply at the master level. Even if an ordinary person were to train for 10 years, he still wouldn't able to reach Neely's level. Hurry up and clean up. We do not want anything other than the horns, the fur on the neck, the demon crystal, and the demon spirit. Neely quickly ordered. A horned sheep's demon crystal and demon spirit are located in the brain area. Demon crystals are thumb-sized crystals and most demon beasts had a demon crystal. As for the demon spirit, only one or two would appear within tens of thousands of horned sheep. The shape of the demon spirit is like a candle's flame. A horned sheep with a demon spirit would generally be stronger than the other horned sheeps. Horned sheeps are relatively low level, only 1-star bronze rank demon beasts. The materials from them are relatively cheap. A pair of horns could be sold for 5 demon spirit coins, and the fur on its neck could be sold for 3 demon spirit coins. As for the demon crystal, it can be sold for 5 demon spirit coins. Counting it this way, even if there is no demon spirit in it, it can still fetch a price of 13 demon spirit coins. They only took, at most, 5 minutes to kill the horned sheep. If it only takes this long, wouldn't the 3 of them get thousands of demon spirit coins in one day? Duzi couldn't help feeling excited. His family is very poor and their income would only be 2,000 to 3,000 demon spirit coins annually. In order to let him enter the Holy Orchid Institute, Duzi's family had to borrow a lot of money from relatives and friends. Duzi is the hope of their family. If he hunts horned sheep together with Neely, he would be able to pay for his own school fees in the future. Neely smiled and said, "We have to be a little bit faster." "There will be no rest tonight." "Okay," Duzi excitedly replied. Although they have yet to enter 1-star bronze rank, their bodies are extremely strong. Staying up all night is nothing. Lupio couldn't help but wail as these two guys are simply misers. They would forsake rest for the sake of money. Although he's sad, he doesn't have much of a choice. Who asked him to get on this pirate ship? The 3 of them worked closely together and continuously hunted horned sheep. After killing dozens of them, Lupio would transport the materials out to have it sold. In one night's time, Neely's group of 3 hunted a total of about 120 horned sheep, which was sold for about 1,200 demon spirit coins. Splitting it equally, they each received about 400 demon spirit coins. This amount of money is simply amazing for someone that has yet to enter 1-star bronze rank. Even for a bronze rank fighter, getting 20 to 30 demon spirit coins a day is already considered a lot. 7 consecutive days was spent attending lessons during the day. While at night the three of them would come to the training grounds to kill horned sheep. Their money has now reached to more than 10,000 demon spirit coins, which can be considered a huge amount of wealth for them. The students in the Holy Orchid Institute were all wondering why the amount of horned sheep in the training grounds suddenly dropped. In the past, they would just casually walk around and easily find horned sheep in groups. However, now one has to look around for a long time in order to find one. Could it be that there are beasts like tigers coming in and hunting these horned sheep? The Holy Orchid Institute even specially dispatched instructors to investigate the cause, but found nothing. On the 8th consecutive evening, Ni Li's group of 3 was in the dark hunting horned sheep. The sky was dark and it was already midnight. Lu Piao yawned and said, "Ni Li, I can't take it anymore. I'm taking a short nap on top of the tree." 7 consecutive days of non-stop horned sheep hunting caused him to be so tired that he couldn't continue anymore. Not only Lu Piao, even Duzi couldn't take it anymore. "Ni Li, I also have to sleep first," Duzi said. His eyelids have been fighting to stay awake for a whole 7 days. Even a man of steel wouldn't be able to endure it. "You guys sleep first. We'll pause the hunting tomorrow night. I have other plans," Ni Li said. He had already accumulated more than 16,000 demon spirit coins. This is their first bucket of gold. With that, they can do a lot of stuff. It was no longer necessary to hunt horned sheep. Lu Piao and Duzi climbed up a towering tree, lied down on a branch and fell asleep immediately. Both of their childish faces were full of exhaustion. Although they both belonged to the premature type, in the end they're still just teenagers. Ni Li sped through the woods. A round moon hung in the sky. The sounds of various insects would be heard from time to time, causing the surrounding area to be increasingly quiet. There's no large-sized demon beast around, so it's extremely safe. Suddenly, Ni Li heard an abnormal sound from the distant jungle. There seems to be someone else here. Who is still in the training grounds at this time? Ni Li's brows frowned and ran towards that direction. He hid in the woods while looking at the field that's covered in moonlight. Using the moonlight to see, he saw a slender and slim figure standing in the middle of the moonlight. She had shoulder-length hair, was wearing a leather jacket, and was exuding a faint blue light. This is the light of Soul Force. Although it hadn't stepped into bronze rank, it should be entering bronze rank soon. Using the light from the Soul Force, Ni Li's eyes landed on her face. Her eyes were shut. Her long eyelashes slightly trembled, and slender eyebrows. She had flawless, white skin glowing a healthy pink, and rich, delicate lips. She and Yixian possessed different kinds of beauty. Yixian possessed a silent elegance, like a beautiful violet flower, while she was charming, with a seductive and glamorous look, like a rose with thorns. "Zhao Ninger, never would have thought it was her," said Ni Li, slightly surprised for a moment. Zhao Ninger was more hard-working than he imagined. She was still training her soul force at this time of night. He estimates that she soon enter into bronze rank. Thinking of his previous life, when Ninger entered 1-star bronze rank, she fell sick for more than 2 years and her cultivation regressed a lot. Although she had to retrain herself from scratch, it's said that since then she had been pain-ridden. Although she had been ill, in the eyes of others, she had been like a dazzling star. She was a strong woman. Thinking about how Ninger was training here in the middle of the night, Ni Li suddenly understood a lot. Although Ninger is very hard-working, she is treating her life as joke. After thinking a while, Ni Li walked towards Ninger. "Who?" Ninger suddenly opens her eyes, and frailly shouted, while retrieving a short dagger. She warily looked at Ni Li. Her facial expression was chilling cold. Through the moonlight, those deeply alert eyes had an indescribable charm in them. Although she was only 13 years old, the current her can definitely be considered a beautiful teen. The leather jacket's front chest area was slightly bulging. At this age, she can definitely be proud of it. "I'm Ni Li said. Although he has never talked with Ninger, they can still be considered classmates and were somewhat familiar with each other. Ninger put down her short dagger, but still kept her guard up as she looked at Ni Li and said, "What are you doing here?" Ni Li faintly smiled. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to train my soul force," Ninger said, looking at Ni Li through the moonlight. Ni Li's eyebrows were sharp. He had a bit of handsomeness, not like some people who looked terrifying from the first look. Neely shrugged his shoulders and said, "I hang out around here." "You're lying. Don't think I don't know. During these last few days, you guys have been the ones killing those horned sheep," Ninger said. She had already seen Neely's group of 3, but she didn't take any initiative to greet them. What Ninger was curious about was something that Neely's group smeared onto the bolts that was able to take down a horned sheep with one bolt, but she wouldn't take the initiative to ask other people's secrets. "So you knew since long ago," Neely said, looking at Ninger. When she pouts her mouth, her rich, delicate lips had an indescribable charm to them. But he already had Yixian in his heart, so his feelings for Ninger's beauty is simply appreciation. He appreciates her beauty and how hard-working she is. With Ninger's appearance alone, she can stand at a very high position, yet she still relied on her own strength to change other people's view towards her. It's a pity that she's using the wrong method. "I'm going to continue practicing," Ninger coldly stated as she stared at Neely with her bright, clear eyes. Ninger didn't like being disrupted by others. She had an expression that pushed people thousands of miles away on her face, and because she rarely associated with the students in class, especially the boys, the friendless her seemed somewhat eccentric. "I will leave immediately," Neely said as he faintly smiled. He checked her out from top to bottom. Ninger's brows wrinkled. "Isn't the way Neely is looking at me a bit too rude?" she thought. She couldn't help feeling somewhat angry. There were lots of boys chasing after her in the Holy Orchid Institute, but Ninger had always ignored them. She only wants to focus on her training. Therefore, Neely's actions right now was no different from the other boys in the institute. It was simply hateful. "Are you still not leaving?" Ninger wasn't happy by her tone. Neely had been disrupting her for quite some time now. Neely's gaze landed on Ninger's legs. She wasn't wearing any shoes, and he could see a pair of creamy slender legs illuminated by the moonlight, which were slightly red. He said, "When night falls, don't both of your legs feel as if they're being burned by fire?" After hearing what Neely just said, Ninger was slightly stunned and soon answered, "How did you know?" Due to the burning heat, when training at night, Ninger usually wouldn't wear shoes. "Of course I know," Neely smiled. "Not only this, I know even more. Not only do both of your legs feel as if they were being burned by fire, your body would be extremely cold. Every night at midnight it would feel as if it was hailing on your body. It would be terribly painful. Even training your soul force wouldn't be possible, would it?" Ninger was shocked by Neely's words. She had been enduring the pain alone and did not tell anyone about this, not even her family members. How did Neely know about it? Seeing the expression on Ninger's face, Neely knew that he had guessed correctly. So Ninger's previous life's illness was the Arctic disease. By training at night, it would often lead to chilled air entering the body, blocking the veins. The Arctic disease would, in light cases, cause the person to get seriously ill, and in serious cases, it would cause the body to explode. So Ninger from his previous life was already very lucky to be bedridden for only 2 years. In addition to these symptoms, your body should be bruised in certain areas. Those bruises should be extremely painful, and not only do they not dissipate, they should also be spreading around the body, Neely said confidently. "You haven't stepped into 1-star bronze rank yet, but once you do, in the best case scenario, you will get seriously ill and your cultivation will be greatly reduced. In the worst case scenario, you will die." After hearing Neely's words, Ninger was momentarily dazed. Both of her fists were clenched tightly, and her eyes reddened. How could this be? Even though she's very strong, after hearing the news, she couldn't endure the blow. Neely could tell what her illness was with one glance. What he said shouldn't be wrong. Ever since she was young, her family had been wanting for her to marry into the sacred family by marrying Shen Efia. As she grew up, Ninger gradually learned what kind of person Shen Efia was. Because she didn't want to get married to that playboy, she started practicing very hard with hopes of getting rid of this cruel fate. Unfortunately, the heavens didn't seem to want to let her do so, since she, who would soon reach 1-star bronze rank, suddenly got to hear such news. Seeing the usually strong Ninger in this state, Neely couldn't help pitying her. "Neely, Since you know what kind of illness I have, you should know how to treat it, right? Asked Ninger. Frightened by what Neely said, she unknowingly dropped her strong guard that she had up against him and pleaded, "Can you help me?" She was, after all, only a 13-year-old girl. Ninger had a strong personality and rarely asked others for help. Neely, after listening to her pleas, suddenly felt his heart soften. He was silent, only for a moment, before he said, "This illness can be treated. You can look it up in the Holy Orchid Institute's library. The illness is called Arctic disease." "Really?" replied Ninger. Her hopes were raised. How can it be treated? The Dalian technique must be used to massage the affected areas, to dissipate the bruise. Medicine made from combining golden striped grass with imperial sky grass must be consumed daily, with your situation, for roughly a month or so. In the best case scenario, 10 days could be enough for you to be fully recovered from the illness, Neely said. This was indeed the method to treat Arctic disease. Dalian technique, repeated Ninger. She knitted her brows. She's a member of a noble family, but she had never heard of any Dalian technique before. In addition to these treatment methods, you must also make sure to not train your soul force at night in the future, Neely said as he stretched his hand out towards Ninger. He followed up with, "Take out your cultivation technique, and let me have a look at it." Ning looked up at Neely. If a stranger were to ask her to take out her cultivation technique, she'd feel that they're simply trying to swindle her. But she, after seeing Neely's expression, couldn't help feeling a sense of trust towards him in her heart. Neely had told her so much already, so she had decided to place her complete trust in him. She retrieved her cultivation technique from her interspatial ring and handed it to him. It was a piece of slightly aged parchment paper, with a bunch of densely packed words written on it. As Neely received the parchment paper from Ninger, he accidentally touched the back of her jade white, creamy hands, but Neely didn't mind. Instead, he was carefully reading the paper. After her hands were touched by Neely, Ninger quickly withdrew her hands and felt her heart flutter. Her mood was in a mess, she thought. What if Neely was trying to blackmail her? And what if he had impure thoughts about her? When she raised her head, however, she saw that Neely hadn't even noticed her reaction when their hands touched, and felt relieved. Neely's expression, when he looked at the parchment paper, was especially serious. This caused Ninger to be a little absent-minded. She reacted only a moment later. She lowered her head and began to think about something. A huge and powerful noble family's direct bloodline actually practices this kind of low-grade cultivation technique. It's no wonder Glory City was destroyed. Neely quietly murmured, "What did you just say?" Ninger widened her eyes and looked at Neely. She only heard some of the words Neely murmured, but she couldn't hear it clearly. "Nothing," Neely faintly laughed. "This cultivation technique is too poor. It'll damage the meridian as one practices it. The reason behind your Arctic disease can be largely attributed to this cultivation technique. Change this part from psychic mind to heavenly psychic and change this to soul and spirit merge." Neely continued to talk, altering the soul force cultivation technique beyond recognition. Ninger, while listening to Neely as he altered her soul force cultivation technique, felt somewhat unconvinced. This cultivation technique was passed down by her ancestors. It was ranked 6 in the family's collection of cultivation techniques. How could it be altered on a whim by Neely, regardless? Ninger still listened to Neely's words. She was, after all, a practitioner of this cultivation technique, so she had some experience on some matters regarding it. Gradually, Ninger realized that the modifications Neely did to it were reasonable. In fact, the modifications made it much better than the original. Ninger's eyes widened and an incredible look was in them as she stared at Neely. "Neely, can you repeat it again?" "I need to remember what you just said," Ninger said quickly. "Okay," Neely slowed his speech, repeating the modification for the cultivation technique. After training her soul force, Ninger got the ability to memorize anything without forgetting it. Even though she could only comprehend some of the modifications, she still managed to memorize what Neely said. The more she looked at it, the more she realized how much more powerful the cultivation technique that was modified by Neely was. Xining's gaze towards Neely initially had a hint of confusion in it, but it was soon turned into one filled with admiration. How much knowledge regarding soul force must one have in order to change this high-rank soul force cultivation technique to such an extent? Even black gold-ranked demon spiritualists wouldn't necessarily be able to do such a thing. Could Neely's understanding of cultivation have long surpassed a black gold-ranked demon spiritualists, even reaching towards the legend-ranked demon spiritualists' realm? Treating it as a treasure, Xininger deeply memorized all the modifications that Neely did to her cultivation technique in her heart. She couldn't tell what her feelings towards Neely were: awe, worship. Neely's age was the same as hers, but Xininger realized that there was a wide gap between them. It was ridiculous that she used to think that Neely was the tail of the class. She realized just how ignorant teacher Shenzhou and the other students were as they ridiculed Neely. She was completely convinced that what Neely previously said in class about becoming a powerful legend-ranked demon spiritualist was all true. Ever since she was young, no matter if it's talent or intelligence, Xininger had far surpassed her peers. This was the first time she looked up to someone her own age. Neely had said before that he would marry the most beautiful girl in Glory City. When she thought of that, Xininger's thoughts got messy. She speechlessly lowered her head. All of a sudden, a figure appeared in her mind. It was Yixian. Although Xininger was confident in her looks, she had to admit that she might not necessarily be able to compete with Yixian. "What are you thinking about?" Neely asked, looking towards Xininger. He was puzzled since her expression was a bit strange. "No, nothing." Xininger quickly shook her head, expelling all the thoughts she had in her head, and asked, "Neely, do you know the Dalian technique?" "Of course I do." Neely nodded his head and continued, "But the Dalian technique requires direct contact with the bruised area. It wouldn't seem appropriate if I were to be the one doing it." Xininger looked up at Neely's chiseled cheeks. He had sharp eyebrows, and deep lights flashed in his black pupils. He had a bit of a handsomeness aura around him, which was slowly merging with the image she had in her heart. She lowered her head and said, "I don't mind. Weren't you just treating me? I don't want to turn into a useless person." That last sentence Xininger said was to comfort herself. In front of Neely, Xininger dropped the cold guard she had up against him. Neely went silent for a moment. "Even if she's a girl and doesn't mind, if I were to refuse, I'll be too petty." His heart already had Yixian. He only had a small impression towards Xininger. He did not think much about it and said, "Okay then, I'll help you with the Dalian technique to treat your illness once every 3 days. Do what I just told you when you go back. Eat those herbs and you will be fine." "Yes," replied Xininger, nodding in silence. "Where's your bruised area?" Neely asked. Xininger's cold cheeks slightly blushed and pointed to the back of her foot. "There's one here." Neely lowered his head to look at it. He saw a patch of deep purple on the top of one of Xininger's silky white feet. The bruise was already this serious. "So serious," said Neely. He frowned and continued, "Luckily it's only on the foot, otherwise it would be a little troublesome elsewhere. It's a lot more convenient, since it's at the top of the foot. I will be done soon." Neely crouched down and sat on the grass patch. "Yes," said Xininger, nodding her head. She didn't say that that's the only bruised area. When she placed her foot on Neely's legs, a light flashed across her eyes. She seemed to be thinking of something. Gripping onto Xininger's creamy jade white foot made Neely's heart swing. Neely could clearly see that Xininger's smooth tight calves were simply perfect. "Don't misunderstand, I'm only treating your illness. The girl I like is Yixian. It's a pleasure to meet you. I hope that we can be friends in the future," Neely explained as he looked at Xininger's charming face. Hearing Neely's words, Xininger's shoulders slightly shook. She nodded her head and faintly muttered, "Yes." From young till now, aside from her father, Neely is the only male that has touched her skin directly. But the one that Neely likes is Yixian. I thought of her. Xininger's nose slightly turned sour. Neely gripped Xininger's foot, positioned his thumb at the bruised area and, gently, started his massage. Xininger couldn't help to let out a pained sound. "The first time will hurt a little. Bear with me for a while," said Neely. He suddenly thought of something and felt embarrassed. Holding a girl's leg and saying such words sounded a little weird. Although Zeninger is only 13 years old, she grew up in an aristocrat family and would, naturally, have some knowledge regarding these matters. After all, some of the girls her age are already married with kids. Zeninger lowered her head. Her cheeks flushed red and couldn't help the weird feeling in her heart. The blushing face of Zeninger was especially charming. It made Nili's heart jump. Zeninger was indeed on par with Yizian's beauty in the previous life. Although she's only 13 years old, she is already very charming. In the previous life, Zeninger and Yizian were both goddesses that the boys looked up to. Yizian was full of grace and elegance, while Zeninger had a cold figure, made the both of them their dream lovers. But after thinking about Yizian, Nili stopped thinking and focused on treating Zeninger. Under Nili's gentle massage, Zeninger felt intense pain at the beginning, but the pain was soon replaced by the warmth of Nili's hand entering her foot. After a while, there was the feeling of hot ants drilling into her foot, making her itch, which was replaced with a blissful numbness. Zeninger couldn't help letting out a little ah, which made her endlessly bashful. That bruise had been there for about 6 to 7 months now. Over time, she would feel terrible pain from it. Zeninger had been enduring the pain with her willpower this whole time. However, no matter how much she persevered, the pain had been torturing her all this time. Zeninger originally thought that treating this patch of bruise would be very uncomfortable and painful, but, to her surprise, Nili's massage was very gentle. She felt the pain that has been torturing her all this time was alleviated by a lot. She couldn't help as her eyes turned watery. No one knew how hard it was to bear the pain. Every night, she would secretly cry. After wiping those tears off, she would continue to practice. She never thought that after being massaged by Nili, the pain would be relieved by this much. Her heart was filled with gratitude. Under the moonlight, Nili's face was clear. The serious expression that he had on his face set ripples off in Zeninger's heart, making it hard for her to calm down. "Done," said Nili, finished the massage. He faintly laughed and said, "For the next few days, there will still be traces of pain, but all you need to do is rest and you will be fine." "Yes," said Zeninger, nodding her head. Suddenly, her cheeks flushing red, she continued to say, "I still have another bruise, could you massage it too?" "Another bruise?" Nili thought for a moment. Right, there should have been another one. The bruise on her leg shouldn't have caused her to be bedridden for 2 years. There should be a more serious bruise. "Where is it?" he asked. Zeninger felt her heart struggling. "If it's only to let Nili massage my legs, it's still acceptable. But if it's that place..." Zeninger hesitated for a long time, her face shyly blushing red. "If it's not convenient," began Nili, seeing Zeninger's expression. He immediately realized that the bruised area should be at an inconvenient location. "Nili, the person you like is Yizian." "Yeah," Nili nodded his head and replied, recalling everything that happened in his previous life. The life and death situation that he and Yizian had gone through. His heart was suddenly filled with happiness just by thinking about it. With his rebirth, he will definitely protect Yizian. At this moment, after listening to Nili's words, Zeninger had a weird taste in her heart. Nili was the first boy to move her heart, but the one Nili likes isn't her. It was Yizian. Zeninger's eyes flashed with disappointment, thought for a moment and asked, "Then, does Yizian like you?" The current Yizian doesn't know anything about Nili. Not hating him would already consider very good. Nili shook his head, smiled and confidently said, "She will fall in love with me." Looking at Nili, Zeninger laughed. "So Nili's love is unrequited." I don't know where that confidence of his comes from. He actually thinks that the prideful Yizian would fall for him. Not that Zeninger feels that Nili is unworthy of Yizian's love, but that neither of them has any understanding towards each other. The chances of them coming together is too slim. The current Yizian still doesn't have any understanding towards Nili, hence, she would definitely have no feelings for him. But if one day, if Yizian understood Nili's character, she might really fall for him. Till now, no one seems to have realized Nili's talent. However, one day Nili will definitely shine. By then, She fears that even a prideful girl like Yixian will be subdued by Nili. In the eyes of others, Nili is still an ignorant boy, but Ninger knows that Nili's ability is far beyond the imagination of other people. Nili will definitely become a legend-ranked demon spiritist like Lord Yimo in the future, or become an even more powerful existence. Ninger struggled for a while in her heart. If the illness doesn't get treated, I will get thrown further and further apart from the surrounding genius of my age. Since the one helping her with the treatment is Nili, it wasn't that hard to accept. Grinding her teeth, she began to undo the buttons on her shirt. Seeing Ninger's action, Nili couldn't help feeling embarrassed. He rubbed his nose and said, "This doesn't look good. I'm a decent person." He watched as Ninger slowly removed her shirt. Her cold figure had an unspeakable charm to it. Ninger stared at Nili as she thought, then is she that kind of girl? If it wasn't for her treatment, she wouldn't even take the initiative to undo her shirt. As she unbuttoned her shirt, her hands slightly trembled and her inner struggle could be seen. Nili thought for a while. I know it is to save her, so I can't think too much about other stuff. I can't let Ninger's hope be crumbled by the disease. The surrounding atmosphere turned charming. The first button, then the second button. Ninger's fatless smooth white skin was already visible, glowing under the moonlight. After the fifth button was undone, Ninger's perfect curves were absolutely shattering. Her chest was tied with a bandage with a beautiful bulge pushing out. Although Nili was reborn, seeing this scene, he couldn't help to swallow down a mouthful of saliva. He thought back on his previous life. Although Ninger dressed extremely conservative, her figure can be described as extremely hot. With only a glance, she would drive many men crazy. Soon, Ninger will grow up to be that charming and attractive woman. Her cold and noble character would make her the object that many men wished to conquer. Nili calmed his mind for a bit and his eyes fell on Ninger's ribs. On her lower rib sat an extremely shocking bruise. Although it is only the size of a thumb, the color of the bruise was very deep. His heart was full of pity for Ninger. How can such a delicate and pitiful young girl endure such intense pain? He asked himself. Nili placed his hands on the bruised area and gently massaged it. Ninger's skin was as cold as water. Her well-proportioned body had a creamy smooth texture, which he felt through his hand, making his heart swing. He tilted his head up to look at Ninger's face. She was burning red, almost as though she had just had a drink of alcohol, giving her a sense of unspeakable beauty. Looking from above, he could see Ninger's jade white shoulders, and realized a scent of female fragrance coming from her. Silently, the both of them did not speak and the woods were quiet and serene. Ninger could feel the warmth from Nili's palm. From young till now, this is the first time a guy was so intimately in contact with her body. Right now, her shirt was half removed, revealing a large patch of skin, making her bashful. Even though her heart is strong, in the dead silent night, her heart was very lonely. When was experiencing the unbearable pain caused by the bruise, she wanted to find someone to rely on. But in the family, no matter if it's her brothers or father, she felt deeply indifferent. Nili, at this moment, was the only one she felt that she could rely on. The best she has was shown Tony Lee. She glanced at Nili and realized that Nili, at this moment, was focused on massaging her bruised area. That serious attitude of his made her to feel gratitude, but at the same time she felt lost. While Nili's thumb was massaging the bruised area, he would accidentally touch Ninger's jade white arms from time to time. That delicate touch would make anyone distracted, even if it's Nili. Nili's mind would return to the scenes of him and Yixian's one night of passion. Yixian, at that time, had developed much better than the current Ninger, but the current Ninger is still young. Once she grows up, she shouldn't have that much difference compared to Yixian. Yixian's charming and elegant look would appear in Nili's mind from time to time and he would remember that Yixian died to save him. Therefore, after his rebirth, Nili definitely cannot let her down. Thinking of that, Nili's heart finally calmed down. While Nili was carefully massaging the bruised area with his thumb, he would tape on several important acupuncture points. Because of Ninger's well-proportioned body, He would occasionally massage a sensitive spot and would feel the soft bulge, leaving Neely slightly embarrassed. Zeninger felt the surge of heat coming from Neely's hand as it moved around the rib area. From time to time she would even feel a blissful numbness. Neely's hand would occasionally touch the twin perks that no other man has touched before, making her blush wine red. The look she had when she's blushing was extremely attractive. That girl's charming and enchanting looks would make others unable to do anything but want to take her in their arms. This was a really tough ordeal. After massaging for a long time, Neely let out a breath, smiled and said, "Done." Feeling Neely's hand move away, Zeninger felt a sense of loss. She had to admit, Neely's massage technique was amazing. It helped her relieve the pain that tortured her for so long. "Thank you," Zeninger whispered as she started to button her shirt. Seeing the jade-white skin, graceful curves slowly disappearing from his sight, Neely's ups and downs mood was calmed down. With a stern face, he said, "Rest well for the next few days. This should help to alleviate the pain. I'll give you a massage every 3 days, a few times more, and the roots of the illness will be removed. Before reaching bronze rank, don't train your soul force at night. Absorbing too much moonlight essence, if you are unable to harmonize with it, would cause serious consequences." Yes, she nodded her head. She no longer dared to practice, anyhow. If it wasn't for Neely, she can imagine how terrible the situation would have been in the future. All of her efforts and hard work would have been in vain. Seeing Zeninger without any other issue, Neely stood up and said, "It's time for me to leave." Oh, she couldn't tell what her feelings were. Zeninger nodded and went silent for a moment before saying, "Neely, you've helped me. If there's anything you need my help with in the future, I will spare no effort to help you." Seeing Zeninger's serious expression, Neely smiled. While nodding his head, he said, "Okay, if I need your help in the future, I'll find you." Truth is, Neely helped Zeninger out of pity towards her. He never thought of getting anything back in return. Neely turned around and left. His shadow slowly disappeared into the forest. Zeninger stared at Neely's leaving figure. She stood on the spot for a long time, feeling that the illness in her body has already alleviated by a lot. Her mood became cheerful again. "Neely, what kind of person are you, actually?" Zeninger muttered, watching Neely from the back. When she could no longer see him, she turned around and walked towards the exit of the training ground. The moon was like water. As the moonlight shined, it would sprinkle a layer of veil over the night. It's time for Shinshu's lesson again. However, Neely, Duzi and Lupia felt that her lessons were simply pointless and boring. All she did was gabble away at the stage daily. Of course, during Shinshu's lesson, Neely, Duzi, and Lupia would be standing at the back of the class. The lesson will be starting soon and students were gathering in small groups, chit-chatting. Despite Yizian's status, she didn't have much of a barrier with the other students. She, quickly, became friendly with many female students in the class. Naturally, Shen Yue would pridefully sit at a corner. With his status, he couldn't be bothered to interact with the other students in the class. If it wasn't for Yizian being in this class, he wouldn't be coming in the first place. At the coming test in 2 months' time, no matter if it's him or Yizian, both of them would definitely enter into the junior demon spiritist class. Shen Yue looked at Neely standing at the back of the class. His face stretched into a sarcastic smile. Reaching 1-star bronze rank in 2 months, if trash like you can accomplish that, then the sun would be rising from the west. He muttered sarcastically. Neely, Duzi and Lupia were at the back, chatting among themselves. In addition, there were a few commoner students that built good relationship with Neely's group. Since Neely had a lot of ideas, he would coach them in their training from time to time. With how much he helped them, he naturally became the leader of this small group. Even Duzi, who had more prestige within the commoner student body, was willing to listen to what Neely said. In just few days, Neely led the two of them earn roughly 16,000 demon spirit coins. Duzi never imagined he would earn such a large amount of money. He fully trusted and admired Neely, feeling that Neely was very capable. "Neely, what's our next step?" Duzi asked. After all, Neely previously said that they were not going to continue hunting horned sheep. What are they going to do now? You'll know after school. Neely said, smiling mysteriously. He already had everything planned out. The first step is to buy some soul crystals to test their talent property and immediate begin their training. Neely still has his bet with Shinzu. He must become a 1-star bronze rank demon spiritist in 2 months. Leaving his training aside, Neely looked towards Yuzian, who was sitting with a group of girls chit-chatting. How can he get close to Yuzian? How can her get Yuzian to fall for him? Just as Neely was lost in his thoughts, Ninger, who was sitting at the front row, suddenly stood up and walked towards Neely's direction. Ninger was the only girl in the class who was beautiful, outstanding and comparable to Yuzian. The 2 girls' every move and action would attract the direction of everyone in the class. Yuzian's character was gentle. She never looked down on others, nor was she arrogant. Therefore many commoner girls are willing to be friends with her. As for Ninger, her character came off as cold and aloof, making her an ice beauty. Even a girl couldn't get close to her, let alone a boy. Could it be that Neely provoked Ninger? Neely's dead. Seeing Ninger back in their view, a few of the noble kids started to discuss while they laughed. For Ninger to take the initiative to go to Neely, it would certainly not be a good thing. Otherwise, how could an ice beauty like Ninger have any relationship with Neely? If such a thing happened, the sun would really rise from the west. Ninger's cultivation will soon reach 1-star bronze ranks realm. If there was any conflict between them, Neely would certainly be the one getting trashed. These noble kids were prepared to watch a good show. Among them there were a lot of boys that liked Ninger. After all, Ninger is a super beauty that is not a bit inferior to Yuzian. Today, Ninger deliberately wore a checker-laced dress. Her ink-black hair scattered around on her back. She wore a bracelet on her jade-white wrist, becoming extraordinarily beautiful and charming. Usually, Ninger would wear a tight-fitting jacket as it was convenient to train with her beauty. The tight-fitting jacket gained a unique flavor when she wore it. However, she seemed to have meticulously dressed herself up today. She was even more beautiful compared to how she usually dressed. This made it harder for the others to look away after taking a glance at her. Being meticulously dressed up was a first for Ninger. Neely, Duzi, and Lupiao were talking among themselves when Ninger reached Neely's table. Ninger seemed to have some sort of unique aura around her. As she walked her way here, Duzi and Lupiao nervously stood up from their seat. Ninger's usually icy, indifferent attitude towards others would cause other people to back away from her. The both of them are worried for Neely. Ninger looked at Neely as he casually sat on the chair. His gaze would occasionally look towards Yuzian, causing Ninger to be discouraged. Neely only had Yuzian in his eyes. He doesn't seem to even notice her existence. Last night, after she had been massaged by Neely, Ninger's body became a lot better, and she slept particularly sweet that night. Ninger visited the library early in the morning. She was trying to find the origin of the Dalian technique. However, to her surprise, the Dalian technique was only briefly recorded in the library. It was known as a cheat technique that was handed down from the Snow White Empire age. In addition, the cultivation technique that was modified by Neely became more advanced. Her soul force grew by 2 with only half an hour of training in the morning. The effect of that half an hour of training was even better than training for an entire day. In the heart of Ninger, Neely is a mysterious and powerful being. What made Ninger proud was that in this class, she was the only one that knew of Neely's talent. For those in the class that laughed at Neely were simply ignorant. She stood by the side of Neely's table and quietly looked at Neely as he continued to talk and laugh as though nothing had happened. Several noble kids continued to discuss quietly. How do you think Ninger will teach Neely a lesson? Neely's soul force is only 5, he will probably be thrown out of the class. Haha, this Neely doesn't know his place. After he offended teacher Shinzu, he actually went and provoked Ninger as well. His life will be very miserable. Even Duzi and Lupiao were nervously looking at Ninger. They didn't understand why a prideful girl like Ninger would suddenly walk towards them. The both of them began cursing Neely to death in their hearts. Neely actually went around looking for trouble again. If Ninger wants to beat Neely up, they will naturally lend a hand. But even if the 3 of them work together, They couldn't fight against the 78 soul force of Ninger. Ninger will soon reach 1-star bronze rank, becoming an actual demon spiritist. At this moment, even Yixian and Shen Yue looked towards Nili's direction. Yixian has some doubts. She doesn't know how Nili provoked Ninger. Could Nili have done something to Ninger? A lecturer like Nili should really be taught a lesson. Everyone had doubts in their eyes. They watched as Ninger stood in front of his table. Nili couldn't help feeling a little surprised. He raised his head and asked, "Is there something wrong?" Currently, Nili didn't know how to address Ninger. He began to think of the things that happened yesterday. He still felt a little awkward inside of himself. After interacting with Ninger, Nili realized she wasn't that cold and aloof girl that everyone imagined. In her heart, Ninger was actually a gentle and cute girl. Ninger's right hand slightly moved. She took out a paper bag from her interspatial ring and gently said, "This is the breakfast that I've made. I didn't know what you like to eat, so I made a few sets." Ninger gently placed the paper bag on the table. What's happening? The whole classroom went silent. If a needle were to be dropped onto the floor, it would be clearly heard. Everyone thought that they misheard what Ninger just said. Guzi and Lupiao dropped their jaws and dumbly stared at the scene. With how open their mouths were, one can simply fit an egg into them. They were unable to believe the scene before their eyes. Ninger is one of the 2 goddesses in their class. Even if they were compared to all the beauties in the school, they would definitely get the top few positions as the school's top beauties. Her beauty and her usual icy cold attitude made her seem unapproachable. However, today, what do they see? Ninger actually made breakfast for Nili, and even a few sets of it. Was the sun rising from the west? Is this real? Everyone thought they were struck by lightning. They were standing there, dumbfounded. "I must be dreaming. I need to wake up," one student murmured. A few students thought that they're also dreaming, therefore, they pinched themselves. However, the pain they felt clearly told them that this was not a dream. "This doesn't making sense," a few noble kids wailed in their heart. They still don't know what happened. They couldn't believe the clothes and the gentleness that Ninger revealed. They originally thought that their Ninger goddess was going to find trouble with Nili. They never thought, in their wildest imaginations, that she was actually giving Nili breakfast. If Ninger were to give them breakfast, even if it's swine food, they would still find it sweet. Ninger usually doesn't have many female friends. She ignored the boys that approached her, except for that trash Nili. She would actually put down her status to serve breakfast to Nili. This simply does not make any sense. Is it because Nili contradicted teacher Shenzhu and was punished by standing? If so, even if they were punished to stand for several years, they, too, would contradict teacher Shenzhu. Ninger did not think of it that much. She only wanted to show her gratitude to Nili. She didn't even care about the opinion of what the others thought about her. After all, she has always been a lone wolf. Ninger doesn't care for other people's thoughts. Those who ridiculed and contempted Nili were simply ignorant. There will be a day when they realize that their view was wrong. In this world, only she knows of Nili's talent. In this moment, even Yixian and Xinyue were stunned in their seats. They were unable to believe what they just saw. What happened was simply unbelievable. How is this happening? Xinyu's face became sullen. How could a prideful girl like Ninger fancy trash like Nili, and even took the initiative to approach him? At this moment, Yixian felt deeply curious about Nili. Yixian and Ninger had been close friends when they were young. However, due to the decline of Ninger's family, the 2 families no longer interacted. Since then, Yixian has never made a true friend. She would, sometime, reminisce about the playful time she had with Ninger. When she found out that Ninger entered the Holy Orchid Institute, Yixian got her father to arrange for her to enter as well. Because of Ninger, Yixian began to take notice of Nili. What's the reason that caused Ninger to take the initiative to chase after someone like Nili with no contributions at all? She couldn't understand the meaning behind Ninger's action. "Can I sit down and eat with you?" Ninger looked at Nili and then towards Duzi and Lupiao while she asked. Duzi and Lupiao's gaze fell onto Nili. Although the both of them wouldn't dare to have any thoughts about Ninger, having a beauty like Ninger to sit beside them was still good to the eyes. Neely was silent for a moment. He nodded his head and said, "Okay." Without knowing why, after seeing Ninger, Neely couldn't help to think of last night's scene. Ninger's soft, boneless figure, with her creamy jade white skin still made him feel a bit awkward in his heart. Ninger took the breakfast out. There was all types of pastries inside. Seeing those pastries caused others to suddenly have the appetite to eat. The fragrance wafted into every corner of the classroom. "Duzi, Lupiao, you guys dig in, too," Ninger said, looking towards Duzi and Lupiao. They couldn't help feeling flattered when Ninger called out their names. The icy cold Ninger goddess isn't that hard to interact with, unlike what others have said. Then we've benefited because of Neely. Lupiao laughed as he took one of pastries and started to eat. With his mouth bulging with food, he muttered delicious. Seeing Lupiao's action, Duzi became somewhat speechless. Ninger couldn't help but smile. Her smile was both charming and attractive, making the students in the class look somewhat dull. They rarely saw Ninger smile. Their whole world collapsed in front of it. Neely slightly sighed in his heart. He shared life and death with Yixian in his past life and experienced way too much. Therefore, the relationship between him and Ninger was only friends. Seeing pieces of delicate pastries being wiped clean by Neely, Duzi, and Lupiao, the noble kids felt depressed and heartbroken. Why didn't they have such treatment? Ninger also ate a few pieces of the pastries. Watching her leisurely eat was a sight that warms the heart and delights the eyes. After chatting with Neely for a while, Ninger returned to her seat. Lupiao patted Neely's shoulder, winked, and asked, "Since when did you get hooked with our Ninger goddess?" "Justify yourself." Neely shrugged. "We're just normal friends." "Tut, who'll believe that?" Whether if it's Duzi or Lupiao, both of them looked at Neely with contempt. "If you're just normal friends, why would Ninger goddess make breakfast for you?" asked Duzi. No matter how Neely explained it, Duzi and Lupiao wouldn't believe in him. Several noble kids in the class looked at Neely. Their faces were full of hostility. Neely stole one of their goddesses. How could they give him good faces? "Maybe she needed my help," Neely replied. "Neely, this brat, is actually tight-lipped," thought Duzi. No matter how Duzi or Lupiao tried to get something out of him, Neely just wouldn't tell them anything. They realized that they could only bitterly give up. They decided to investigate the relationship between Neely and Ninger. As the bell for lesson to start rang, Shenzhou twisted her waist and walked into the classroom. Unlike her usual arrogant attitude, the smile on her face looked like a chrysanthemum. "The three of you return to your seats," Shenzhou said, looking at Neely, Duzi and Lupiao. "There are VIPs here to observe her lectures." Naturally, she wouldn't dare to be rash. "Today I'm going to talk about inscription patterns. Whether if it's fighters or demon spiritists, inscription patterns are very important. Inscription patterns are separated into two parts, respectively the enchanting patterns and the battle patterns. Enchanting patterns can be inscribed on armors and weapons, as it can greatly enhance the combat abilities those armors and weapons. Especially if it's used by a demon spiritist, they can make use of weapons and armors with enchanting patterns on it to release far more power than their base strength. As for battle patterns, they are used with inscription pattern scrolls. By inscribing it onto the scroll and then activating it, can have a sudden burst of fighting power. The shocking thing is, Shenzhou began saying substantial content today. Inscription patterns are extremely profound and mysterious. They have been around since the Snow White Empire's age. They are being continuously improved on as time goes by. But during the Age of Darkness, the mainland was under the attack of many demon beasts. Glory City only managed to inherit a small portion of them, coming from three categories: Snow White patterns, Sacred Flaming patterns, War Prime patterns, which are the Snow White attributes, Fire attributes, and Neutral attributes. Today we will be talking about enchanting patterns, Shenzhou said softly. Her tone became more gentle compared to the usual tone. Outside the classroom, three elderly men sat together, listening to the lecture. The knowledge from the members of the sacred family is quite profound. Having her teach these students is definitely more than enough. One of the elderly men said with a smile. He is Yisheng, the vice principal of Holy Orchid Institute. A few students in this class are quite good, No matter if it's Yi Zian, Shen Yue or Zi Ninger, one of the elderly men said, sounding very pleased. He is a professor in Holy Orchid Institute named Lu Yi. Other than Yi Sheng, a gray-robed, elderly man sat beside them. Lu Yi doesn't know this gray-robed elder's identity. This gray-robed elder just casually sat down, but he gives off a powerful, prestige aura, causing Lu Yi to be careful with his words when he spoke. He didn't dare to make a slight mistake with his speech. "How is it?" Yi Sheng asked, looking at the gray-robed elder. Gray-robed elder noncommittally replied. Lu Yi whispered in his heart, "What's the identity of this gray-robed elder?" He actually treated Lu Sheng vice principal with indifference. His status mustn't be low. I fear that his status might even be higher than Holy Orchid Institute's principal. After thinking about it, Lu Yi dared not to speak anymore. The students in the classroom didn't know that there were people outside the class observing to the lecture. It was hard to imagine that Shen Zhu actually talked about some substantial stuff, so everyone paid attention and listened. Shen Zhu slightly raised her chest, her face, which was full of pride, and said, "Today I want to talk about sacred flaming patterns. In the research on sacred flaming patterns, the sacred family is no doubt has a well-deserved lead. The sacred flaming patterns has 66 foundation patterns. This pattern, for example," Shen Zhu drew a totem form from many patterns coming together on the blackboard. "This is the Scarlet Sunburst pattern. This pattern was created by Sacred Family's first-generation house master. It's the most powerful bronze pattern. This pattern is made up of 36 foundation patterns combined together. It's also the most complex pattern among the bronze patterns. Next we'll talk about these 36 foundation patterns." Shen Zhu began to talk non-stop. Most of the students in the class were listening with great interest. However, Neely was the only one not paying attention. He doesn't have any interest with these foundation patterns. Furthermore, there are more than 600 foundation patterns in the sacred flaming pattern, not 66. If it wasn't for Yi Zian and the treasure in the Holy Orchid Institute, Neely wouldn't even be staying in the class listening to Shen Shu's pointless teaching. In his view, her knowledge itself was full of flaws. Her lesson simply cannot be listened to. Stating that a simple scarlet sunburst pattern was claimed to be the strongest bronze inscription pattern is simply bragging. Shen Shu's gaze swept across the students in the class, and lastly fell onto Neely. Previously, Neely contradicted and looked down on her. He even made a bet with her. She had been hating him in her heart all this time. When she saw that Neely was not paying attention to the lesson, she laughed in her heart. She finally found her chance. Shen Zhu continued gabble about the 36 foundation patterns. Neely doesn't have a single interest in it and simply lied down on the table. At this moment, Yi Sheng, vice principal, who has been sitting outside, wasn't very happy when he saw that. He looked at the gray-robed elder beside him. There's an important figure here today to observe the lecture, and that student was actually sleeping in class. He was simply throwing mud on the Holy Orchid Institute's face. He didn't know the name of that student. If he did, he would definitely expel him from the institute and never let him back. Seeing that the gray-robed elder didn't have any reaction to Neely's action, Yi Sheng, vice principal, was secretly relieved. Lu Yi, who is sitting beside them, sternly said, "In the fighter apprentice class, it would inevitably have good and bad students mixed together. I will certainly punish this student later. Parents spend so much money on him to send him to school, not to let him sleep." Yi Sheng nodded his head. Lu Yi knows his stuff. Because Neely fell asleep, everyone saw that Shen Shu's face went heavy. Isn't a student sleeping in class imply that her lesson is boring? "Neely," Shen Zhu spoke in a deep voice as she walked towards the side of Neely. Neely was sleeping happily as he hadn't had any good sleep for the past week. He barely opened his eyes, seeing as he's still quite sleepy, and said, "What's the matter?" Seeing Shen Zhu wake Neely up, a bunch of noble kids secretly laughed. They wanted to see Neely in trouble the most. Who asked him to steal the goddess of their heart from them? He's doomed this time. Duzi and Piu Liao smiled bitterly at each other. No matter what, sleeping in class is something they didn't dare do. Neely's attitude made Shen Zhu even more furious. She said in a deep voice, "You are actually sleeping in my class. Do you already know all of this stuff?" "Yeah," Neely calmly said. You? Chen Zhu became speechless from being choked by Neely's words. Since the start of the lesson, Neely has been sleeping. He actually said that he knows it already. Who would believe in his words? Shen Zhu coldly sneered, since you already know, why don't you tell us about the inscription pattern on the board? Neely's eyes swept across the inscription pattern and said, this is a low-graded sacred flaming pattern. It can barely be considered a bronze pattern. With 38 patterns in its structure, its power is weak, but if used to boil water, it would be good enough. Hearing what Neely just said, the whole class started laughing. Haha, I almost died from laughing. He really did not listen to anything teacher said. To actually say that this scarlet sunburst pattern has 38 foundation pattern in its structure when, earlier on, teacher Shen Zhu just introduced that there are 36 foundation patterns in its structure. I laughed to the point that tears began to come out. He actually said that it's used to boil water. One of the noble kids said while he's laughing. While Yi Zian couldn't help but smile, Shen Yue became a little angry. Neely just said that the bronze pattern that's been passed down in his family is actually used to boil water. This simply cannot be tolerated. Among all the students, only Zininger remained calm. Zininger feels that Neely didn't avoid doing something that would cause others to feel depressed. These people don't know of Neely's real talent. At that moment, outside of the classroom, Lu Yi also laughed. This student is really funny. That is smart. Actually, it is said there are 38 foundation pattern in Scarlet Sunburst structure, and even said that it is only used to boil water. While he's laughing, he noticed that the vice principal, Yishan, and the gray-robed elder did not laugh. He suddenly stopped by pushing his laughter back into his stomach. What's so funny? The Scarlet Sunburst is indeed made from 38 foundation patterns, Vice Principal Yishan calmly said. At his and gray-robed elder's level, with in-depth investigation they would find that there are 2 foundation patterns in the Scarlet Sunburst pattern that are actually not only made from 2 foundation patterns, but made from 4 foundation patterns. However, what made them feel shocked is that this information actually came from a student. Was this student randomly guessing? And for experts like them, the Scarlet Sunburst, this sort of rubbish inscription pattern, can only be used to boil water. Its actual effect in battle is very small. A light flashed across the gray-robed elder's eye, but he did not say anything and remained silent. Bullshit, Shen Zhu grunted angrily, her face turned grim. As a member of the sacred family, naturally, she couldn't tolerate anyone degrading the Scarlet Sunburst pattern in front of them. Neely did not pay any attention to the students that were laughing at him and continued. This inscription pattern was originated from the 7th volume of the Book of Divine Lightning Fire. The original name of this inscription pattern is called Lightning Flame Burst Pattern. It consisted of 60 foundation patterns. It can be considered a little complicated, but some smart ass went and cut part of the inscription pattern, slightly changed it, and turned it into this nondescript Scarlet Sunburst pattern. With no real combat capabilities, it could only be given to the Sacred Flame Pattern practitioners to study. Book of Divine Lightning Fire, what is that? The students in the class looked at each other. Neely actually said that the first-generation house master of the sacred family is a smartass. Shen Zhu was beyond furious. She doesn't know of any Book of Divine Lightning Fire or what was recorded in the 7th volume of it. Ridiculous, such book does not exist in the world. Shen Zhu thought for a while and countered. What 7th volume of the Book of Divine Lightning Fire? It was probably one of Neely's nonsense. Seeing how furious Shen Zhu was, Neely chuckled lightly and said, Teacher Shen Zhu is so knowledgeable, saying the book doesn't exist because you've never seen it before. Does that mean that Teacher Shen Zhu has read all the books in the world? In his previous life, Shen Zhu was also unreasonable. Book of Divine Lightning Fire, oh, I remembered. I think I've borrowed such a book from the library. A commoner student suddenly said in a frightened voice. He borrowed 3 books, one of them was the Book of Divine Lightning Fire. However, the content inside the Book of Divine Lightning Fire was too profound. He couldn't understand any of it. He forgot to return the book back after he looked in it. The voice of this commoner student caused Chen Shu's face to darken. This commoner student flipped the Book of Divine Lightning Fire open. This book is a copied version, not the original copy. It was written with words that belonged to the language of Snow White Empire. The first volume was translated but not the other volumes. The language written in the Snow White Empire's age is very obscure, ordinary people couldn't understand it. Never expecting that this book actually existed, even Vice Principal Yi Sheng and Lu Yi looked at each other with surprise. Although they are the Vice Principal and Professor of Holy Orchid Institute, the amount of books in the library easily numbered hundred thousands and 90% of them were left behind from the ancient times. Even they couldn't say the names of every single book. There are also many books that even they couldn't translate. During his roaming on the continent during his previous life, Neely was proficient with 7 languages. Upon reaching legend rank, he read various books and never forgot their content. Not to mention, in his previous life, Neely stayed in the stationary space-time realm within the temporal demon spirit book for hundreds of years, reading millions of books while he's inside. There isn't any obstacles in reading the words written by the language of Snow White Empire for Neely. Even the gray-robed elder sitting beside Yi Sheng and Lu Yi had his face colored with surprise. Even he has never read the Book of Divine Lightning Fire before. Yi Sheng, send someone to the library to retrieve the Book of Divine Lightning Fire, the gray-robed elder ordered. Yes, Yi Sheng looked at Lu Yi beside him. Lu Yi dared not to neglect and quickly bolted away. Every student in the class focused their eyes on the Book of Divine Lightning Fire that the commoner student was holding. Both Yi Zian and Chen Yue were also very surprised. Being a member of the 3 major families, they also read a lot of books, but they didn't know that such a book called the Book of Divine Lightning Fire existed. This book is to side door, therefore very few would take the initiative to learn from it. Within Glory City, there are 3 types of inscription patterns that are more complete, which are the Snow Wind, Sacred Flame, and War Prime. Almost everyone practices these 3 types of inscription patterns. Since lightning fire inscription patterns have been long lost during the Age of Darkness, there were only a few books, such as the Book of Divine Lightning Fire, lying around. All of these were untranslated, so they were shelved. Occasionally, there would be some students borrowing them, but after realizing that they couldn't understand the content, they would immediately put them back. Let me see, Book of Divine Lightning Fire Volume 7. The commoner student immediately began rummaging through the book. This Book of Divine Lightning Fire was several hundred pages thick. Inside, the book was filled with illustrations, text, and lightning fire inscription pattern diagrams. There was no translation for it after the first volume. The complex, ancient words caused many people to have a headache just by looking at it. After turning to Volume 7, the commoner student realized that this volume alone had hundreds of inscription patterns. He started comparing them one by one with the one on the board, searching for the one that looked similar to the Scarlet Sunburst inscription pattern. Everyone in the class was getting impatient. When is the search going to end? Shen Shu's face frosted coldly and said, "You probably found this book in some corner of the library and don't even know what was written in it. Yet, you say that the Scarlet Sunburst originated from that book. Arrogant child, you dare defile the ancestors of my sacred family. If you can't find the inscription pattern, I'll go to the Saint Judgment Hall to sue you for defiling my ancestors." Neely laughed loudly and said, "Teacher Shinzu, it's still too early to say this kind of stuff. This book was left over during the Snow White Empire's time, existing over a few thousand years. The timing of its creation is far longer than the creation of the sacred family, right?" "Correct," answered Shinzu, nodding her head. This was a hard fact that she couldn't deny. "Then, it's simple." Neely looked at the commoner student and said, "Flip 30 pages backwards from Volume 7. The 6th diagram in page 30, compare it with the Scarlet Sunburst inscription pattern." Seeing Neely's face full of confidence, Shen Shu's heart sank. If Neely were to find out the origin of Scarlet Sunburst inscription pattern, it would be the stain of Sacred Family. Because Sacred Family had publicly announced that the Scarlet Sunburst inscription pattern, as well as 16 other inscription patterns, were self-created by the first-generation house master of the Sacred Family. This caused a huge increase in the Sacred Family's reputation. If the public were to find out that Sacred Family's inscription patterns were plagiarized from the ancient book, then the reputation of the Sacred Family would be greatly affected. Seeing Shen Shu's face show traces of fear, Neely secretly smiled. The sacred family's fame mostly came from being the bearer of the sacred flame inscription patterns, which was claimed by many past house masters to have been self-created inscription patterns. Their extraordinary talent is what saved the Glory City from distress. However, truth is, the sacred family is just a bunch of hypocrites. In Neely's previous life, during the destruction of Glory City, every family was fighting for the survival of the city. The sacred family was supposed to guard the west gate of the Glory City, but during the outbreak of the war, in order to save their own strength, they got every single one of the family's experts to enter into the Saint Ancestral Mountain. This caused the west gate to be breached, and allowed the snow wine demon beasts to march into the city. Neely still remembers the horrifying scene caused by the demon beast massacre. Neely and the rest had no choice but to leaving Glory City. After his rebirth, Neely didn't have any good impressions towards the sacred family. In this life, I will let this hypocritic family be removed from Glory City. If you wanted to have the sacred family to be disdained by all the citizens in Glory City, then he will need to reveal the true nature of this hypocritic family first. Page 30, 6th diagram. The commoner student murmured. After being guided, he found the lightning fire inscription pattern. What? The crowd of students let out a sound of surprise. The lightning fire inscription pattern consisted of two parts, with one part looking exactly like the scarlet sunburst inscription pattern. The scarlet sunburst inscription pattern was much more simple compared to the lightning fire inscription pattern, which was the same as cutting out half of it. Neely is actually correct. Shenzhou clenched her fist tightly, her fingers turned white. When Shen Yue, who was among the crowd of students, looked towards Neely, his eyes became full of hatred. Neely is discrediting their sacred family. Neely, naturally, noticed both Shenzhou and Shen Yu's hostile look and coldly laughed in his heart. Sacred family are all exactly the same. When they didn't find the reason out themselves, they will push the blame onto others. If it wasn't their own flaws, why would they worry about other people exposing them? So what if the first generation house master of my sacred family took it from the Book of Divine Lightning Fire? Shenzhou coldly replied. Neely laughed. Teacher Shen Yue, looks like you're not familiar with the Demon Spiritist Code of Conduct. Do you want me to explain it to you? The Demon Spiritist Code of Conduct has been around for 3,000 years. Almost every Demon Spiritist follows the Code of Conduct. Demon Spiritist Code of Conduct Article 161. Taking inscription patterns or copying inscription patterns from other demon spiritists must indicate their source and cannot claim them to be self-created. This is the ethics of demon spiritists. You! Shenzhou trembled from the anger. Neely's words directly hit on the weak spot. He directly said that sacred family did not follow the demon spiritist's ethics, but even so, she couldn't refute Neely's statement. If they were learning from the lightning flame inscription patterns in order to create their own inscription pattern, then it's fine. However, the sacred family's first generation house master directly took half of it and claimed it to be his own. Isn't that a little too absurd? Could the first generation house master of the sacred family have some unspeakable difficulties? Neely blinked his eyes as he talked innocently. Neely's sharp words were directed at the sacred family's weak spot, and still pretended to look innocent. This caused Shenzhou and Shen Yue to want to kill someone. The students all whispered their discussions. So the first generation house master of sacred family is such a person. It's said that, although the first house master of the sacred family was only a gold-ranked demon spiritist, in the studies of inscription patterns, he was a great master who self-created several sacred flame inscription patterns. Has the sacred family always been the torchbearers of the sacred flame inscriptions? Never thought that the scarlet sunburst is actually copied from an ancient book. I looked at the snow wind inscription patterns record. The inscriptions inside has been reproduced or taken from ancient books, but they always indicated their source. They never claimed it to be self-created. This is the ethics of demon spiritists. Every noble demon spiritist would do the same. A group of students began to wonder, could the great master of inscription patterns in their hearts be nothing more than someone who's fishing for compliments? Listening to the discussions of the students, Shen Yu's heart became even more unhappy. He already saw Neely as an enemy. With his face ashened, He stood up from his seat and said, "Neely, my sacred family has been passed down for 300 years. We are one of the 3 major families in Glory City. We aren't something someone like you, who's from an ordinary noble family, can criticize." This scarlet sunburst is written in the first House Master's notes. Originally, it was not publicly announced. We younger generations found it when we were arranging the first House Master's notes. So we thought that it was created by him. That's normal. Neely looked at Shen Yue. He was indeed a member of the sacred family. He made an excuse of this to wash the responsibility off. Shen Yue deepened his voice when he mentioned major family, and pointed out Neely as a member of the ordinary noble family, making his words very clear. If Neely were to pursue it further, then, as the sacred family, being one of the major families definitely wouldn't let him off. As for Shen Yue, Neely also disdained him. Before Shen Yue and Yi Xian's marriage, the war began, and Shen Yue immediately ran away. Hearing Shen Yu's words, Neely became even more unhappy. Student Shen Yue is an arrogant bully. Fortunately there's a strict law in Glory City. Otherwise, I would be worried the sacred family would. Neely pretends to be afraid, blinked his eyes and said believe that a big family like the sacred family would protect my safety. If anything were to happen to me, I'm afraid the sacred family wouldn't be able to wipe that stain off. Neely put it this way, if sacred family were to go after Neely, wouldn't that indicate that the sacred family is a villainous bunch? No matter if it's Shen Yu or Shen Yue, both were angered to the point they almost vomited blood. Yi Xian couldn't help but to look at Neely again. Never did she think that Neely is so daring to actually offend the sacred family, one of the 3 major family in Glory City. Recently, Neely's actions made her unable to ignore his existence. Curiosity rose from Yi Xian's heart. What kind of person is Neely actually? As for Zininger, hearing how Neely uses his sharp words to attack the weak spot of sacred family, she couldn't help but to feel happy. Her family has always been wanting to marry her off to the sacred family, but in her heart she is conflicted. From the start her impression towards the sacred family hasn't been good. Hearing how Neely subdued Shangxu and Shen Yue with his words to the point that they are speechless all while playing a rascal, she couldn't help laughing. At the same time her heart is deeply filled with adoration for Neely. How profound must one's knowledge need to be in order to tell the source of Scarlet Sunburst inscription pattern with just a glance? So while these people are busy wasting their time, Neely has been reading books all along. At this moment outside the classroom, Lu Yi hastily ran towards the gray-robed elder and the vice principal's direction and passed the Book of Divine Lightning Fire to the gray-robed elder. Vice Principal Yi Sheng repeatedly directed his attention to the gray-robed elder's expression. The gray-robed elder flipped the Book of Divine Lightning Fire to page 30, diagram 6. Seeing the lightning fire inscription pattern on the book, then comparing it with Scarlet Sunburst inscription pattern, his face became sullen and did not say anything. Yi Sheng dared not speak. This truly is a scandal of the sacred family. This matter involved the upper level of Glory City, therefore on this matter he dared not say anything. Gray-robed elder looked at the Book of Divine Lightning Fire. The words on it are very complex, even he only recognizes a small part of the words. Neely actually had such profound knowledge, causing him to be astonished. He remained silent for a moment before saying, "This student, how is the innate talent of Neely?" Yi Sheng looked at Lu Yi. Regarding such nameless student, the vice principal wouldn't know much about the student. Lu Yi hastily replied, "I just looked him, he only has a red soul realm." Gray-robed elder nodded his head. Such a pity, this child is so well educated. A pity that his innate talent is only this much, otherwise his future would be promising. Lu Sheng, arrange for him a library clerk position. Yes. Lu Sheng hastily nodded his head. He knew of gray-robed elder's love for talented individuals. Although Neely's innate talent is poor, he is knowledgeable and could even read the Book of Divine Lightning Fire. By becoming a library clerk, he could also research and study more books like these. Everyone in Glory City has their priority on training their cultivation. Very few would research and study these kind of ancient books. This arrangement of the gray-robed elder is in order to protect Neely. After all, the job of library clerk is to work inside the school. This way sacred family wouldn't be able to suppress Neely. But would Nili fear the suppression of sacred family? If it was in the past life, Nili would definitely have his tail between his legs, fearing sacred family to the extreme. But in this life, Nili definitely wouldn't swallow his grievances. This resentment, Nili has kept tabs on it all and still has to repay the sacred family. Shenzhou looked at Nili with enmity. Her hatred for Nili has reached the limit, coldly saying, "Today's matters, I will remember it." Shenzhou is a vindictive person, and, as Nili's teacher, she naturally had a lot of ways to cause trouble for Nili. Hey, Nili sneered incessantly. As a teacher, she actually threatened a student in her class, so shameless. Even if sacred family doesn't look to trouble him, he will take initiative to trouble the sacred family. This is still the first battle. Nili still has a lot of tactics to deploy. However, he didn't want to reveal his hand at the moment as his current strength is still not enough. He couldn't offend the sacred family too much. After all, they are still one of the major family of Glory City. Nili clearly understands that he desperately needs to enhance his strength. After that, Shenzhou didn't have the mood to continue the lecture and hastily ended the lesson. The things that happened in the lesson spread quickly among the students, passing from one to another. The usually lofty sacred family, no matter how much they tried to cover it. This kind of action violates the demon spiritist's code of conduct and thus would be disdained by all demon spiritists. Sacred family can only see Nili as the thorn in their side, but can't do anything to Nili. On the contrary, if anything were to happen to Nili, everyone would suspect the sacred family. Such a blatant action, even the sacred family couldn't dare do it. After all, sacred family couldn't hide the truth from the masses. After this incident, sacred family's prestige was greatly affected. It's said that the house master of the sacred family tried to visit Yixian's father, the city lord of Glory City, but was rejected. For Nili, this is something to be happy about. Although he doesn't know how to get near to Yixian, if he could destroy the marriage between Shenyue and Yixian, then it's something to be happy about. After today's incident, Yixian's image of Shenyue was reduced by quite a bit. At the vice principal's office, Shenshu's sharp voice sounded. "Vice Principal Yisheng, this student Nili has no respect for his elders. He openly contradicts his teacher in class, simply, nasty to no extent. I request the approval of Vice Principal to have him expelled from school," Shenzhou said emotionally. Even without the elder's words, with Nili's profound knowledge, even if he couldn't become a powerful demon spiritist in the future, he could still become an important individual of some powerful demon spiritist. How could Yisheng expel such a student? Moreover, Nili had the appreciation of that elder. But after all, Shenzhou is a member of sacred family. He still needs to give her some face, smiling as he replied, "I will consider this matter." To let a student be expelled from school would still have great impact. Vice Principal Yisheng, there's nothing to consider. I request the immediate expulsion of Nili, otherwise I will not teach the class," Shenzhou said angrily. Yisheng's eye flashed. "Shenzhou, this woman doesn't know when to stop." Putting on a smiling face, he said, "That being the case, how about I transfer you to other class then?" Shenzhou slightly hesitated. She thought that Yisheng would give some face to the sacred family, but in his words, Shenzhou heard some meaning. Yisheng has firmly decided to protect Nili. If she was transferred to other class, she wouldn't have any way to trouble Nili. Shenzhou cursed Yisheng in her heart, and swallowed this feeling and said, "No need then. Let's forget today's matter. 2 months later there'll be the apprentice fighter test. If he's ranked into the last 3 in the fighter apprentice class, then Vice Principal Yisheng would have nothing else to say, right? According to the rules of Holy Orchid Institute, being ranked in the last 3 would require them to be expelled from the school." "No problem with that," Yisheng laughed. Shenzhou lets out a grunt, turned around walking towards the door. Seeing Shenzhou leaving, Yisheng's eye flashed a hint of chill. Shenzhou relied on being a member of the sacred family and was a little too arrogant and domineering. Yisheng thought again, even if Nili's results are poor, with his profound knowledge, he wouldn't be in the bottom 3. Even if he is in the bottom 3 and is expelled from school, that elder would probably reach out to recruit Nili. At this moment in the school library's 3rd floor, there's a lot of small rooms originally meant as Holy Orchid Institute student reading rooms. but at this moment, they became the base of Neely and his group because Neely has been hired by Holy Orchid Institute to be a library clerk. Being a clerk doesn't require one to do anything and would receive 300 demon spirit coin every month. Getting these kind of benefits, who wouldn't agree? The action of Holy Orchid Institute hiring Neely is very strange, but once giving it a little thought for a moment, Neely understood why. The higher level of Holy Orchid Institute did this to protect Neely from the suppression of sacred family. Although the position of library clerk isn't big, but is still a clerk of Holy Orchid Institute, even if it's sacred family, would still worrying about repercussions. In this matter, Neely is grateful towards Holy Orchid Institute. Vice Principal Yisheng doesn't know that, because of the elder's words that caused Neely to be hired as a library clerk, Holy Orchid Institute would greatly benefit in the near future. Neely, offending sacred family like this, wouldn't it be bad? Duzi spoke after being silent for a moment. He's more of a cautious man. Who cares if it's good or not? It's fine as long as it feels great. Lu Piao curled his lips. Seeing Shen Shu's face become distorted from anger, he felt great about it. In any case, he had been unhappy about this woman. Neely looked towards Duzi, nodding his head. I know. In the last few days we haven't gone to class. Shen Zhu is probably anxious. Since Neely already put it this way, Duzi also didn't say anything else. At this moment, beside Neely, Duzi, and Lu Piao, there are still 3 more commoner students. They were the ones who stood at the back of the class with Neely. Their innate talent wasn't that good as well, only having Red Soul Realm. As for these 3 commoner, their names are Weinan, Zhu Xiangjun, and Zhang Ming. Neely still trusts them. In the previous life, they were all Duzi's direct subordinates. Their relations with Neely couldn't be considered good, but they were all loyal towards Duzi. In the battle with the demon beast before Glory City was destroyed, they defended the city to their last breath and died in the battle with Duzi, are all blood brothers. And in this life, the small group of them are being led by Neely. I just spent more than 6,000 demon spirit coins to purchase 6 primary soul crystals. I want to test your aptitude, Neely said while looking at them. Test aptitude? Didn't we already have our aptitude tested when we enrolled into school? Duzi asked while being puzzled. Neely mysteriously smiled, saying my tests are different from that one. Everyone in the room had their doubts. Ever since the establishment of Glory City, they have been always using the usual method. Their soul force has already been determined. What does Neely want to test? 1 primary soul crystal cost 1,000 demon spirit coin, and Neely actually brought 6 in one go. Although they had some doubts regarding Neely's words, due to the profound knowledge that Neely showed earlier on, they were convinced in Neely's words without any discussion. Generally, unused soul crystals are the most sensitive. If it is used to test a person's soul realm, they will be extremely accurate. But once there is more than one person who has used the same soul crystal, the soul crystal will have interference and can barely test the soul realm's type and the strength of the soul force, Neely said, laughing. Other than soul realm's type and the strength of the soul force, what else can be tested? Lu Piao asked curiously. The attributes and form of the soul realm. Neely answered with a smile. Duzi, Lu Piao, and the rest all looked at each other. What Neely just said sounds very profound. Everyone take 1 soul crystal. These primary soul crystals are to be well kept. Before reaching a soul force of 500, this primary soul crystal can be used to check the level of your soul force. Once your soul force passes 500, you will need to get intermediate soul crystal. Neely said as he distributed the soul crystals to everyone. Seeing Neely passing the soul crystals to them, Weinan, Zhu Xiangjun, and Zhang Ming expressions were terrified. How can we take such expensive stuff? Weinan said. 1 primary soul crystal was worth 1,000 demon spirit coins. Their living expenses for 2 years wouldn't even reach that much, and Neely was actually gifting them a soul crystal. Yeah, we can't accept this. Zhu Xiangjun quickly added. Zhang Ming also did the same. They are all commoner students. When had they had such inexpensive things before? It's given by Neely, take it, unless you don't consider us as brothers. Duzi spoke in a deep voice as he frowned his brows. Although Duzi is a commoner, he still has prestige. The trio looked at each other for a while and nodded their heads. Taking the soul crystal from Neely's hand, their hearts are filled with gratitude. Neely, thanks, from now on you will be our boss. If there's anything, just order us to do it, the trio said. They have already approved of Neely in their hearts and decided to follow Neely. Hearing the trio's words, Neely slightly smiled. Having these brothers, the things Neely plans to do would have its workload reduced by half. Doozy, you'll test first. Neely looked at Doozy saying, just do the same thing like what you did during enrollment. Right, Doozy nodded his head. Lifting the primary soul crystal, he slowly injecting soul force into it. The soul crystal gradually started to shine, getting brighter and brighter, shining on Doozy's tender yet slightly matured face. Speckles began appearing, dancing around inside the soul crystal. Judging from this level of brightness, there is still quite a distance until reaching 1-star bronze demon spiritist. The rest swept their gaze across it and are able to tell the approximate number of dots in the speckle. Every single dot represent 1 soul force. Doozy, you improved very fast. You already have soul force of 52. Lu Piao said excitedly. With soul force of 52, Doozy would probably be the first among them to have his soul force to reach 100 first, becoming a 1-star bronze spiritualist. Doozy looked at Neely. Neely is currently concentrating on watching the soul crystal. In Neely's view, the amount of soul force doesn't matter. Be it tens or hundreds doesn't mean a thing. The most important thing would be the attributes and the form. Within the soul crystal there are some dots of white light, glittering with reddish-gray rays of light occasionally coming together, changing into various shapes, just like a cloud. Seeing this scene, Neely showed surprised over his face, speechlessly said it's actually lightning fire attribute and it's also heavenly thundercloud form. No wonder Doozy's cultivation training speed is so fast. With heavenly thundercloud form along with the lightning fire attribute simply made a perfect match. It was a pity that in the previous life Doozy practiced the sacred flame inscription pattern, so upon reaching 1-star gold rank demon spiritist he had already reached his limit. But in this life, with Neely, Doozy would have great changes. Lightning fire attribute, heavenly thundercloud form. Everyone present was puzzled by what Neely just said. In this world, there are no crippled soul realms. Red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, azure, and indigo are the 7 color types of soul realm. Each represents a person's unique personality and talents. Due to various reasons, some soul realms are more easy to train, but that doesn't mean that red soul realms are crippled. If you find the right cultivation technique to train with, even with red soul realm, you can also unleash powerful strength. For those who grade the soul realm into different grades, in terms of soul force cultivation, they are a bunch of amateurs. Neely faintly smiled as he said those stuff. Hearing Neely's words, for Doozy, Lu Piao and the rest were thunderstruck. This is too shocking. Since the beginning of Glory City, those legend rank experts told them that the soul realm are graded. Orange is stronger than red, yellow is stronger than orange. Didn't he say that those of legend rank experts were just a bunch of amateurs? In the understanding on soul realm, even legend rank experts are not at the same level as Neely. Neely can contest any legend rank expert in soul realm knowledge. Because in his previous life, Neely reached a level above legend rank, a rank that is unimaginable for them. Neely continued saying, once you find a suitable cultivation technique, any color of soul realm can also reach the legend rank. Doozy has a yellow soul realm with lightning fire attribute and the heavenly thundercloud form. With a suitable cultivation technique, inscription pattern and a heavenly thunder demon beast for his lightning fire attribute, his achievements will be shocking. Comparatively, his power would drop if he practiced other things, not to mention his cultivation would progress a lot slower. Hearing Neely's words, Doozy showed a distressed look on his face, saying unfortunately, the lightning fire cultivation techniques in Glory City are incomplete. Even if they are recorded in ancient books, the language of the words would be from ancient times. Halfway through speaking, Doozy suddenly had a thought. Neely could even read the book of divine lightning fire. He looked towards Neely with hope-filled eyes. At this moment, Neely revealed a smile as though he had a card up his sleeve. He said, with me here, there is nothing to worry about. It's just lightning fire cultivation techniques, nothing too difficult for me. I have with me the 69 strongest lightning fire cultivation techniques. Which one do you want to practice? Heavenly Scarlet Lightning Technique. No, this technique is too overbearing, especially once training reaches the ending. It can easy to damage one's meridians. Heavenly Killing Technique. This technique is indeed suitable for Du Zi's physique. This heavenly killing technique doesn't have any issue with it, but there isn't anyone that has tried practicing it before, including the creator of this technique. But in Ni Li's view, the first 9 stages of this technique are very safe, and only the last 3 stages would have some difficulties. The strength of heavenly killing technique needs no mention. Practicing up to the 9th stage is already shocking and amazing. As for the last 3 stages, that would depend on Du Zi's fate. You'll practice heavenly killing technique, one of the 3 strongest lightning flame cultivation techniques. I will impart you with the chance for the technique, and I'll also make a copy of the various martial arts for it in the future. Ni Li soon imparted the chant for the technique to Du Zi. Heavenly killing technique's chant isn't too cryptic, so Du Zi remembered it very quickly. Softly contemplating the chant inwards, Du Zi was extremely shocked by it. The heavenly killing technique is definitely stronger than any other cultivation technique that he had seen in the past. Just by chanting, Du Zi already felt his soul realm frantically surging. His soul force also had obvious signs of strengthening. He has yet to begin training, and his soul force already began to expand and increase. It's foreseeable that after practicing this heavenly killing cultivation technique, Du Zi will have all kinds of leaps and bounds with his soul force. All this time, Du Zi has been struggling with the bleak fate of his family. His dream is to change the fate of his parents and family, but he clearly knew that this goal was too far away. But at this moment, Du Zi felt that by diligently practicing the heavenly killing cultivation technique, all of this wouldn't pose a problem. All of this is given to him by Ni Li. I will record for you all the details of the cultivation technique in a few days, Ni Li said as he faintly smiled. Du Zi is filled with gratitude for Ni Li. His eyes reddened, solemnly saying, "The kindness of imparting heavenly killing technique to me, I appreciate it. If you have anything I could be of help to you in the future, even if it's to hike the Blade Mountains or to enter the Sea of Flames, if I, Du Zi, were to slightly hesitate, I'll be willing to die by the curse of heavens. Don't put it this way, we're good brothers, it's just a cultivation technique." Ni Li slightly smiled as he patted on Du Zi's back. To Ni Li, this is just a piece of cultivation technique, but for Du Zi to say, the significance of it would be different. At this moment, Lu Piao already couldn't wait anymore from the excitement, saying at the side, "You guys talk too mushy. As brothers, we should share the blessings and the misfortune together." Ni Li, I'm just a red soul realm. Am I also suitable to train soul force? Of course, everyone can train in soul force, even if it's red soul realm, except there's a difference in the cultivation technique that is suited for red soul realm, Ni Li said, smiling. Lu Piao began injecting his soul force into the soul crystal. Quickly, the soul crystal began to glimmer. A dozen dots of lights carrying a little redness spun within the crystal. The brightness of the glow was smaller than Du Zi's by a lot. Seeing this scene, Lu Piao's face turned red. His soul force was simply too low. Red soul realm, with chaos attribute and the scarlet sun form. Ni Li frowned his brows for a moment. Scarlet sun soul form, although is considered common, but it actually chaos attributed, which is surprisingly rare. There wouldn't be one chaos attribute in hundreds of thousands of people. Why not practice the Holy Primal Chaos Technique? Holy Primal Chaos Technique, is it strong? Lu Piao asked excitedly, as it sounded powerful from the name itself. Of course, Holy Primal Chaos Technique isn't in any way inferior to Heavenly Killing Technique, as it doesn't require much practice, only the need to foster the chaos chain your body. It suits you, Ni Li said, laughing. It will depend on your luck as for training to the highest level. Listening Ni Li's words, Lu Piao's eyes instantly shined. This piece of cultivation technique is too suitable for him. He chuckled as he said, "I don't need to practice to the highest level. I will be satisfied as long as I can reach 1-star silver rank demon spiritist." 1-star silver rank demon spiritist. If the creator of Holy Primal Chaos Technique knew how big Lu Piao's ideal was, the creator would have choked at the thought. 1-star silver rank, Ni Li is speechless. He estimated that before long Lu Piao will realize how laughable his dream is. Practicing Holy Primal Chaos Cultivation Technique, it would be impossible to stabilize in 1-star silver rank. As the chaos chi accumulates in his body, Lu Piao's cultivation will also advance by leaps and bounds, reaching a frightening level. Ni Li also began to test Wei Nan, Zhu Xiangjun, Zhang Ming, and gift them each with a set of powerful cultivation techniques. Although it can't be compared with Holy Primal Chaos or Heavenly Killing technique, they are still cultivation techniques that no other technique in Glory City can be compared to. Not to mention, the cultivation techniques were also the best suited to their aptitudes and soul realms. Their future practice would also be more effective. Wait till reaching 5-star bronze rank and find a suitable demon spirit, then their combat capabilities would also rapidly increase. Glancing at the piece of soul crystal in his hand, Neely prepared to test his own innate talent. Due to various reasons in his previous life, Neely took a lot of detours and the cultivation techniques he practiced were very messy. This resulted in him lacking strength at the end of his training. Therefore, in this life, he wanted to find the most suitable cultivation technique for himself. After injecting soul force into the soul crystal, a few bright spots appeared floating around in the soul crystal, but the soul crystal is basically dark. I suddenly feel relieved. Neely's soul force is a lot weaker than mine. Lu Piao blinked his eyes as he laughed. Doozy gave Lu Piao a hard look. Neely didn't mind. The amount of soul force doesn't matter much to him. At this moment Neely paid attention to the soul realm. Red soul realm, fragmented and disordered forms with no attributes. Attributeless with the disordered soul realm, Neely smiled bitterly. All soul realms are very strong, but if I were to say which kind of soul realm was the weakest, it would be the non-attributed soul realm. This is because it doesn't have any characteristic at all and the soul realm form is not condensed. Originally, my starting soul realm was like this, but after practicing various other cultivation techniques that caused it to become even more unruly. No wonder after spending a long amount of time practicing inside the temporal demon spirit book, I was still unable to break through. So the root of the issue was this. Attributeless soul realms are the most unstable and are the most likely to be changed. Neely submerged deep into his thoughts. If there were any cultivation techniques suitable for attributeless soul realms, then there would only be 3 options: Heavenly God Cultivation Technique, War God Cultivation Technique, and Void God Cultivation Technique. Among these, the Heavenly God Technique was the most profound, the War God Technique was the most overbearing, and the Void God Technique was the most secretive. Based on future potential, the Heavenly God Technique had the highest potential, but Heavenly God Technique was also the hardest to practice. With an attributeless soul realm, practicing any kind of cultivation technique will be much slower than others. But if one is able to practice with the Heavenly God Technique, it would be the strongest overall cultivation technique, since it shares various properties similar to attributeless soul realms. Once one succeeds in practicing with the Heavenly God Cultivation Technique, one would be able to practice all kinds of cultivation technique from all the different attributes, resulting in one having supreme power and being able to create their own path. Practicing normal cultivation techniques, the soul realm would only be able to contain one demon spirit. If you get a stronger demon spirit, then the previous spirit would need to be replaced. But with the Heavenly God Cultivation Technique, one can contain 7 different demon spirits, each with a different attribute. Every time one integrated a demon spirit, one's strength would surge by a fold. Gathering 7 powerful demon spirit can cause the cultivation and combat abilities to reach an alarming, unimaginable level. He was hesitant for quite a while. Although the training speed isn't fast, much slower compared to Duzi's, Lu Piao's and the trio's, once training and cultivation is successfully completed, then Heavenly God Cultivation Technique is without a doubt the strongest. Neely mediated the chance and began the most basic practice. In the future he may need the support of large amount of elixirs, but for now he would only need to practice the basic fundamentals. Seeing as Neely began his training, Duzi, Piuliao and the rest that were present in the room also began to practice their own cultivation techniques and began to absorb the energy from heaven and earth to strengthen their soul realms. The more they practice, the more they realize how mysterious and profound those cultivation techniques were. 6 people had their 6th soul realm rapidly rotating, surging up and expanding. Whether it's Duzi, Lu Piao, or the 3 commoner students, their soul force begin to significantly enhance. The process of enhancing is simply astonishingly fast. After all, the cultivation technique given to them by Neely are all earth-shatteringly powerful techniques that once started. The speed of practicing with it compared to normal cultivation techniques are 10 or even more than 100 times faster. Ni was practicing the heavenly god technique. Currently he doesn't seek fast cultivating, but preferred steadily laying his foundation one step at a time. His soul realm was like the sea surging, constantly changing its shape. Portions of soul force ebbing and flowing. Ni felt that his soul force already had been significantly strengthened. The first stage of soul force practice is to reach the level of heart and soul as one. With the continuous enhancing of soul force, the soul realm began to surge over and over, gradually releasing cyan glow. Ni and his group remained in the library devoting themselves into practice. 1 day passed, 2 days passed. Over time, Ni's soul force rose from 5 to over 30. This speed was simply amazing. If Shenzhou were to know of Ni's cultivation speed reaching such frightening speed, what kind of thoughts would she have? Ni's speed, however, is considered slow. Duzi's, Liu Piao's, and the trio's cultivation speeds were even faster than Ni's, especially Duzi. Perhaps it wouldn't be long until he reached the 1-star bronze rank. One can only imagine, after finishing a stage of their cultivation, how far would their soul force have risen. Reaching 1-star bronze rank in 2 months, for Ni this isn't anything. Ni might even be able to reach 2-star or 3-star within this 2 months. During test in 2 months, what would Shenzhou's expression be like? At this moment, in the fighter apprentice class, for the last couple of days, Ni and his group seats were empty. No one knows where have they gone. Soon it'll be the 3rd night. Ni wouldn't have forgotten, would he? Zininger looked forward for the arrival of night in her heart. Thinking of the things that happened on that day, the quietly sitting down Zininger slightly blushed. Her face had a gentle, pure smile, beautiful and attractive, causing the surrounding boys to become dumbfounded. Yixian is very puzzled inside her heart. Recently Zininger often was blankly lost in thought, causing her to have some curiosity over it. What actually happened causing Zininger to be so preoccupied in thought? Zininger wouldn't have a crush on Ni, right? Yixian didn't understand. What's so good about that kid called Ni to actually have made a prideful girl like Zininger to fall for him? As Shenzhou is teaching in the class, her gaze swept past the 6 empty seats, sneered in her heart. Ni's probably bitterly practicing, right? Even so what? Ni thought that if he were to bitterly practice, he would be able to rise his soul force from 5 to 100 in just 2 months' frame of time. This is absolutely impossible. If Ni had green soul realm or above, then he might have the chance to accomplish it. But Ni has a red soul realm. In her view, Ni is bound to lose. Ni actually dared to contradict her in class publicly. This would be the price. She can only imagine, after being expelled, how pitiful Ni's situation would be. Shenzhou revealed a faint sneer on her face as she continued to tirelessly lecturing red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, azure, and indigo are the 7 different soul realms, with red as the lowest grade. Within the hundreds years of Glory City history, only a few managed to practice up to silver rank demon spiritist level. Unless having some fortuitous circumstances, red soul realms have a limit for the soul force it can contain, which is 600. The higher it goes, the harder it is. Hearing Shenzhou's words, the crowd of commoner students below the stage revealed disappointed expressions on their face. Soul force could only reach a maximum of 600, which means that unless one to have good fortune, the maximum they can reach is just the 5-star bronze rank. Those students with red soul realm couldn't help to complain at the injustice. Why do they only have red soul realm? There are some things that are decided by heavens upon birth. We have to succumb to our fate. Some people would be sheltered upon birth, and some would be an inferior commoner upon birth. Shenzhou laughed to cry. Yixian and Zininger frowned their brows in disgust upon hearing Shenzhou's words. They didn't like Shenzhou since the beginning, and the words Shenzhou spoke were too much. With Glory City under the threats of Demon Beast, Shenzhou still continued to try and stir up conflicts between commoners and nobles, simply disregarding the situation. Listening Shenzhou's words, those commoner students tightly clenched their fist. Blood almost oozed out from their palms. Although they were very angry about what Shenzhou said, but most of them still endured it. Not everyone had the courage to contradict the teacher with withdrawing from school as a bet. They wouldn't and didn't dare to do it, and because of that, they had deep admiration for Ni in their heart. What Neely didn't know that the constant mocking of the commoner students by Shen Zhu actually became the spiritual motivation for the commoner students. Almost every single commoner student wished Neely to win, chasing this vicious Shen Zhu away. The recent action of Neely won the hearts of these commoner students. As time went on, the incident of Neely giving Sacred Family a hard slap in their face and his bet with Shen Zhu soon became well known. Almost everyone throughout Holy Orchid Institute were discussing about this matter. He actually said that he'll raise his soul force from 5 to 100 in 2 months. He simply doesn't know his place. Yeah, even a Science Soul Realm super genius might not be able to accomplish it. I hope Neely would win. Really hate that mean woman. Me too, although his chances of winning is very slim. 70% of the students in Holy Orchid Institute are commoners. Neely offended Shen Zhu and the Sacred Family for standing up for them, causing them to support Neely in their heart. A lot of people didn't like the Sacred Family. Some of the noble children still disapprove of Neely. Even if Sacred Family was in the wrong, Sacred Family are still one of the 3 major family in Glory City. Neely's action is offending his superiors. It showed contempt for authority. They even look at Neely as the scum within nobles. Some people just like to stand together with commoners. What can you do about it? They were ridiculing Neely, late in the afternoon. Majority of the students in Holy Orchid Institute all went to eat. The library was exceedingly quiet. Neely and the group of people ate together and went back to the library to continue their practice. Neely, my soul force is already 89. With the current speed, I would be able to break through into 1-star bronze rank in a week. Duzi whispered, his voice had unquenchable excitement in it. This speed of cultivation in his view is impossible to imagine. Not bad, Neely chuckled. This speed is within Neely's expectation. Not just Duzi, Lupio and the others were also in ecstasy and excitement. Their soul force also made great progress. With the current speed, even for them to reach 1-star bronze rank in 2 months would be possible. This strengthening of soul force is too fast, so fast, that it was to the point that it was no longer a lofty goal. It was just like living within a dream. We need to get some elixirs. With elixirs only then will our cultivation speed be faster. Neely said. Listening to Neely's words, Duzi and the group of people were shocked. Yeah, they hadn't taken any elixirs and their cultivation speed was already this fast. If they were to consume some elixirs, how fast would their cultivation speed become? But where would they find elixirs? Elixirs that could enhance cultivation could cost tens of thousands of demon spirit coins. Although they earned roughly 16,000 demon spirit coin from killing horned sheep, buying the soul crystals alone spent quite a lot of it, leaving them with barely 10,000 demon spirit coins. You guys continue training in the library. I have some matters to attend to tonight. I need to find a way to make more money with the remaining 10,000 demon spirit coins. Neely said, laughing. With more money, they can purchase the elixirs that enhance the cultivation. They didn't know what Neely planned to do, but since Neely already had his plan, they wouldn't ask much about it. Tonight, Neely and Zeninger had promised to meet. If Neely helped Zeninger to rid her of her illness, that can also be considered a good deed. Duzi, Lupio and the trio did not think that the reason Neely left was to go meet with Goddess Zeninger. If they were to know, they would definitely be depressed. Neely preferred girls over his friends. Just when Neely and his group were chatting, Neely's gaze suddenly turned towards a distant direction. Amongst the rows of bookshelves, a graceful figure was currently holding a thick book looking down at it. A head of purple hair was like a waterfall falling. Beside the ears, bundles of hair were tied up with silk thread, adding more lovely temperament to her. The evening sunlight shined on her delicate face, making her more elegant and attractive. Neely's heartbeat fastened by just looking at her. For an instant, countless memories flooded his head. At the endless desert, hiding and running from the chase of countless demon beasts, in those death and life situations, with Neely's sharp sense of danger, he saved the survivors countless times and gradually got together with Yixian as they grew to know each other better. Although Neely's cultivation was extremely poor and the gap between him and Yixian was as wide as the sky, both of them still got together. That night, Neely touched Yixian's smooth back, The crazy love for her in his heart couldn't be suppressed much longer. Yixian under the moonlight, whereas a perfect image of a goddess statue, her attractive face, her curvy body, smooth and delicate jade arms, perky twin perks. Those crazy scenes were deeply imprinted in Nili's heart. Nili of that time, never in his imagination, that a goddess-like beautiful like Yixian actually fell for him. Later, in order to cover himself and other survivors to escape, Yixian died in the battle. Seeing that scene, Nili's heart were as though it was stabbed by someone. He still remembers that kind of piercing pain. If it wasn't to fulfill Yixian's wishes to protect her family to safety, Nili of that time would definitely follow her together. If it wasn't that mysterious temporal demon spirit book, I wouldn't be able to come back to life, wouldn't be able to see her again. Nili inhaled a deep breath, calming himself down from his inner excitement. He had always been searching for a chance to get close to Yixian, but he didn't want to disturb her. Anyways, since the marriage between her and Xinyue had not been set yet, the current Nili felt an urgent need to enhance his strength. Only by having strength, he could deter sacred family, and then be able to snatch Yixian from the hands of Xinyue. You guys go up first, I still have some matters to attend. Nili looked towards Duzi, Piuliao and the trio saying. Duzi and Lupiao followed Nili's gaze. Hands holding onto an ancient book, the beauty quietly reading was like an elf in the evening, simply perfect. Wearing a white silk dress, having a graceful demeanor, leaning against the bookshelf. They instantly knew what Nili wanted to do. Everyone likes beautiful things. It was just that when facing Yixian, they didn't even have the courage to go forward due to their low self-esteem. Nili walked towards Yixian's direction. I bet Nili will fail in 15 minutes. The prettiest girl in class would definitely ignore him. Lupiao said confidently, smiling. I hope Nili wouldn't get a blow too big for him, Duzi murmured. They hid in a corner looking at Nili. He'll probably get ignored by her. The prettiest girl in class isn't that easy to go near to. Even Xinyue also failed to get close to her numerous times. Yixian quietly reading books at dusk. This beautiful scene Nili couldn't bear to break it. Nili, unexpectedly, found that the book Yixian is reading is actually that book of divine lightning fire. Yixian furrowed her brows while flipping through the book. She is someone that has a strong competitive spirit and is also very hard-working. No matter if it's the talent, cultivation, or even her knowledge, they are also far stronger than ordinary people. She still had that little pride in her heart, but she actually realized the gap between her and Nili was actually so huge. The stuff in the Book of Divine Lightning Fire is too profound. The first volume was translated, which was okay, but after the first volume, the other volumes were written with the language of Snow Wind Empire. She didn't understand any of it. On knowledge, Yixian is indeed stronger than her peers, but she found the wrong guy to compare herself to. After all, Nili had been reborn. Seeing Yixian holding and flipping through the Book of Divine Lightning Fire, with Nili's understanding towards Yixian, he naturally guessed Yixian's mind. He couldn't help but smile as he walked to the side of Yixian, and teasingly said, so, student Yixian is also interested in Book of Divine Lightning Fire. Yixian then recovered from her deep thoughts. Looking at Nili, her face revealed a surprised expression. She obviously did not expect to bump into Nili here. Think again, Nili is probably here reading books, otherwise how could he have that much knowledge? This book is too profound. I just took a skim through them and realized that I couldn't read a lot of things inside. Yixian closed the Book of Divine Lightning Fire, elegantly saying while politely keeping her distance with Nili. Yixian's slender figure, although she was a few steps away, subtle fragrance could be smelled from her. Nili knew that this is her unique body fragrance, causing one to be mesmerized. This Book of Divine Lightning Fire is written with the words from the Snow Wind Empire era. The words from that era are slightly esoteric and hard to understand, but if you can first learn the words from the Black Gold Empire era, you will find them easier to understand and can read the words from the Snow Wind Empire era much more easily. Nili smiled, saying, words from Black Gold Empire era. Yixian carefully recalled, before the Age of Darkness, There were 3 eras that were rather well recorded. The most powerful empires for each era are, respectively, the Saint Spirit Empire era, the Snow White Empire era, and the Sacred Empire era. Black Gold Empire is a relatively big empire in the era of Snow White Empire. Ni Li is well learned and knows a lot of stuff. Yixian couldn't help to feel a little admiration. But to learn an era's language to read this book is not necessary. Also, with your aptitude, is not too suitable to practice lightning fire cultivation techniques. Ni Li's expressions were calm, unlike other boys who are so reserved and stiff in front of Yixian. After all, Ni Li understands Yixian too well, down to the depth of bones. Oh, then what cultivation technique is suitable for me? Yixian sizing the boy in front of her. Ni Li's knowledge caused her to feel a little dejected and depressed. If I guessed correctly, with your family, someone in the family used soul force to examine your body before. You're currently practicing snow wine cultivation technique, so snow wine cultivation technique is probably the best suited for your physique. Ni Li faintly smiled, saying. Yixian's eyes widened, shocked as she looked at Ni Li. Ni Li actually guessed correctly. Her grandfather indeed used his soul force to examine her body before, but that was a secret not known to others. After all, by examining once used up large amount of soul force, how did Ni Li know of this? Seeing Yixian's expression, Ni Li knew that he guessed correctly, smiled, saying, although your family examined your physique before, but he definitely couldn't detect your soul realm's form, so the cultivation technique he chose might not be suitable for you. The form of the soul realm. Yixian frowned her brows. She didn't know what that is. How about taking a little bit of time and let me examine your soul force's form? Ni Li asked towards Yixian. Yixian raised her head, looking at Ni Li, thought for a moment and shook her head. No need. She still kept her distance from Ni Li. If Ni Li's method of examining is similar to her grandfather, then there will be bound to have some skin contact. Yixian still have some precautions against Ni Li. Seems to guess what Yixian is thinking. Ni Li smiled. He knew that Yixian thought too much, saying, actually the method of examining is very simple. Get an unused soul crystal when you get back, then by injecting your soul force into the soul crystal, I just need to observe the soul crystal a while to tell your soul realm's form. Oh, that's simple. Yixian apologetically looked at Ni Li. Seems like she misunderstood Ni Li. A single soul crystal wouldn't need that much money. If you want to test the form of your soul realm, look for me here tomorrow around this time. Ni Li finished his words, turned around and left. Yixian astounded, looking at Ni Li. Usually when boys talk to her, they would want to chat for a little longer, but Ni Li is actually an exception. What kind of person is Ni Li actually? She realized she doesn't understand this classmate at all. Ni Li's gasped Yixian's character. The more he tries to get closer to Yixian, the further Yixian will distance herself against him. The time in the future is still long. First leave a good impression in Yixian, then slowly build up their relationship. Yixian clenched her teeth, sounded classmate Ni Li. What's the matter? Ni Li turned his head, asking. Seeing that Ni Li and Yixian were talking in the distance, and when Ni Li walked away, Yixian actually called out to him, caused Zi, Lu Piao and the group to look at each other dumbfounded. Sure enough, he deserves to be the boss. First, he made Ninger Goddess to take the initiative to send breakfast, and now actually made Yi Goddess call out to him for the happiness of the rest of my life. I need to ask boss for some guidance. Weinan murmured. This caused jealousy from bystanders, to be able to speak with Yi Goddess. How many men wish for that kind of thing? Guzi and Li Piao looked at each other. Seems like we underestimated Ni Li. This guy is secretive of his skills. Ni Li hooked up with Ninger Goddess, and he definitely can also hook up with Yi Goddess. Holding one on the left and on the right, hugging the other, his happiness is boundless. Ni Li doesn't know of the discussions between these brothers. Hearing Yixian calling for him was unexpected. He surprised, turning his head back. Classmate Ni Li's knowledge on inscription patterns is profound. I have some questions for Ni Li. Is it okay? Yixian asked with her bright eyes, looking at Ni Li. Of course you can, pray tell. Ni Li laughed. Yixian did not get her hopes too high. After all, the questions that she wanted to ask weren't things that ordinary people can solve. In the terms of understand inscription patterns, the knowledge of Yixian, who was born into one of the major families, learned, was far surpassed her peers. Yixian took out 2 inscription scrolls from her interspatial ring. Experts usually store their techniques in inscription patterns, writing them onto inscription scrolls. Then when in battle, they can activate the inscription scroll to release powerful battle techniques, much faster than if they were to perform the techniques themselves. But inscription scrolls are usually very expensive. Just a blank inscription scroll would cost up to hundreds of demon spirit coins. A bronze rank inscription scroll would cost thousands of demon spirit coins, and a silver rank inscription scroll would cost more than 10,000 demon spirit coins. As for gold rank, the price of it is simply unimaginable. They are extremely precious things which ordinary people cannot afford. These two inscription scrolls are snow-wind inscriptions. Yixian's pale fingers slowly opened one of the bronze rank inscription scrolls. These two inscription scrolls seemed to have some error when it was drawn, and thus left them unable to be activated, but I can't find the root of the issue. Neely's gaze swept past these two inscription patterns on the scroll, and found the problem with the two inscription patterns. He spent so much time in his previous life inside the temporal demon spirit book, that Neely's knowledge about inscription patterns had reached perfection, regardless of attribute. To him, inscription patterns of all kinds were simple to grasp. Correcting to bronze rank inscription scrolls to him held no challenge. Even if the professors couldn't tell the root of the problem with these two bronze inscription patterns, with your family background, couldn't you ask your father for the answer? Neely asked, looking at Yixian. Within Yixian's lavender-colored eyes flashed a hint of sadness in it. Neely suddenly understood. Yixian never had a mother since birth, and with her father being the city lord, he was busy throughout the day. Her grandfather was a legend-ranked demon spiritist, so he had to lead his men to explore Saint Ancestral Mountains, eliminating any potential crisis for Glory City. So naturally no one could help Yixian. Thinking of this, Neely felt pity for Yixian, saying, in the future if there's any problems, you can find me here around this time. Finished saying his words, Neely's gaze fell onto the two bronze rank inscription scrolls. Pointing to one of the two bronze rank inscription scrolls, saying, this bronze rank inscription scroll is the Snow Wind Attributes Icy Wind, Sharp as Knife's inscription. The inscription structure has no issue with it, but this is a faulty scroll. Faulty scroll? Yixian asked, surprised. Right. The person who made this faulty scroll is an expert fraud. If one's eyesight is not sharp enough, being led into buying this scroll is understandable. Neely said, laughing. Icy Wind. Sharp as Knife's inscription is drawn using the blood of Snow Wind Spiritual Worm. The blood of Snow Wind Spiritual Worm is usually a silver-gray color, not this bright silvery red color. My guess is that this is written with the blood of Snow Wind Spiritual Worm's larva. The larva of Snow Wind Spiritual Worm isn't strong enough, and therefore caused this Icy Wind, Sharp as Knife's inscription to be unable to activate. An adult Snow Wind Spiritual Worm's blood being silvery gray color while their blood's color being silvery red when they are in their larval stage, Yixian never thought that the problem was actually something like this. She took this inscription scroll that was unable to activate and asked several professors in the school, and even the vice principal, but none of them were able to find the problem with it because the bronze rank inscription scroll was correct wrong. This mystery was hidden within her heart for a long time now. That was until today, when this mystery was finally resolved. So her perspective was wrong, the inscription had no issues, thus her wanting to find a problem with the inscription was naturally impossible. This kind of issue, Neely could actually tell with just a look. How profound must one's knowledge be to accomplish this? Was the knowledge of those professors and the vice principal below Neely's? A deep admiration emerged within Yixian for Neely, as she also gradually lowered her guard against Neely. A person with such vast knowledge, presumably their character wouldn't be too bad, right? What about this bronze rank inscription? Yixian pointed towards the other bronze rank inscription scroll. While she pointing towards the scroll, she looked at him again. Neely was slightly taller than her by a little bit, with a chiseled face, sharp brows, and bright eyes. He was quite handsome. In the past, Neely's presence in the class was very low. Until today, when Yixian began to have some understanding towards Neely, did her heart begin to feel deep admiration for Neely. This inscription pattern is Snow Wind Attributes Icy Wind, Sudden Snow inscription. Icy Wind, Sudden Snow is originally a silver rank inscription pattern, but the Icy Wind, sudden snow left behind by the Age of Darkness was incomplete. Afterwards, people tried to patch it and in the process caused it to drop a level, becoming a bronze rank inscription pattern. Neely said, Yixian had her doubts. She never thought that there is still such history behind it. Which book was it recorded in, and how come she have never seen it before? She heard Neely continue his speech. In addition to dropping to bronze rank inscription pattern, their patches for icy wind. Sudden snow caused it to gain a problem with its structure, and thus often it should have problems when activating, causing it to be unusable. It just needs to be adjusted a little. Structural changes. How would you change it? Yixian's eyes were filled with doubts. Even if it's her grandfather, he dared not tamper with the structure of an inscription pattern because inscription patterns passed down from ancient eras were already in a perfect form. Although her grandfather is a legend-ranked demon spiritist and can create inscription patterns, it's still very hard to adjust an inscription pattern. Do you have pen? Neely asked, looking at Yixian. Yixian's right hand moved, retrieving a silver horn pen from her interspatial ring made from the horns of a horned sheep. As Neely took the silver horn pen from Yixian's hand, his finger accidentally touched Yixian's palm. That soft skin contact made his heart flutter. She immediately drew her hand back, suddenly raising her head, her alert eyes looking at Neely. She thought that Neely intentionally tried to take advantage of the situation, but was surprised to find Neely holding onto the silver horn pen with dignified look on his face. Perhaps she thought too much. The contact earlier made her feel a strange feeling. Neely drew a few simple strokes on the white paper, and an inscription pattern more complete than icy wind. Sudden snow appeared on the paper. The shape of the strokes were exactly well proportioned, as though they were printed. Neely ended up drawing such complex inscription patterns with just a few random-looking strokes. Such frightening ability made her gasp in amazement. This adjusted icy wind, sudden snow inscription became even more complex and difficult to understand. Even Yixian couldn't understand it. This is the completed icy wind, sudden snow inscription, Neely said, looking towards Yixian. It's a silver rank inscription pattern. Yixian's gaze fell onto this icy wind, sudden snow inscription pattern, her brows furrowed. This adjusted icy wind, sudden snow turned out to be twice as complex compared to before. The currenter couldn't verify how effective is the inscription pattern unless someone were to make it into a scroll. She had not seen this kind of inscription pattern before. This inscription pattern is made with 36 foundation patterns in its structure, Neely explained. This is a stable structure. The previous structure wasn't stable. Yixian let out an full of doubts. She didn't ask any further, only keeping the inscription pattern altered by Neely, preparing to get people to make this into a scroll to test it out to see if it was, as Neely said, a silver rank inscription pattern. She then sought further guidance about some problems she had with snow wind inscription patterns as well as cultivation techniques. Neely's answers were calm and smooth. Under Neely's tutoring, Yixian eased her doubts about Neely, admiring him even more. How much time would a person need to spend in order to have profound knowledge like Neely? Classmate Neely, thanks a lot for your answers. Don't forget our deal about meeting here tomorrow. Rain or shine before leaving, Yixian smiled, graceful as pearl, beautiful and refined. That bright smile caused Neely to be a little absent-minded. Yixian left, waving her hand. The tender view of her back leaving was graceful and attractive. Neely's mood suddenly became even more cheerful, very satisfied with his first chat with Yixian. Just when Neely was preparing to leave, a hand emerged from the side, grabbing onto Neely's collar. Neely's eyes landed on the person and his expression darkened. This person was Shen Yue. Shen Yu's right hand grabbed onto Neely's collar as he stared fiercely at Neely. What did Yixian talk to you about? Release your hand, otherwise I won't be polite. Neely coldly replied. Hey, won't be polite to me, Neely. You think too highly of yourself. Who do you think you are? Thinking you're so great just because you know a few inscription pattern, you're still far too lowly. Stay away from Yixian, otherwise, I'll show you a good time, Shen Yue said fiercely. Duzi, Li Piao, and the trio, upon seeing that, immediately rushed over. At this moment there were about 6 or 7 lackeys by Shen Yu's side, glaring at Duzi, Lu Piao and the trio, both sides fighting spirit ignited. The other students in the library, upon seeing this, started to distance themselves, fearing that they would become involved in this. What happened? I heard that Shen Yue and Ni Li had a conflict regarding Yi Goddess. Looks like they'll be soon fighting. Who is this Ni Li to actually dare offend Shen Yue? He's a member of the sacred family. Ni Li is crazy, he doesn't know his place. Shen Yue will soon reach 1-star bronze rank. How can Ni Li be able to do anything to him? In Shen Yu's view, with his strength, handling Ni Li is very easy. He only needed to use 1/10 of his strength to be able to suppress Ni Li. Ni Li looked at the arrogant Shen Yue with contempt. In his view, Shen Yue is just a kid. He never thought of Shen Yue as a threat since the start. Even if your whole sacred family could only barely play with me, who do you think you are, Shen Yue? No matter if it's strength or soul force level, the current Ni Li is inferior compared to Shen Yue. After all, Ni Li only started practicing Heavenly God cultivation technique 2 days ago. But in Ni Li's view, Shen Yu's ability using his strength and soul force is no different from a primitive human. Although my current physical strength is only 38 and my soul force is 32, to force you to faint I am more than enough. You think that by relying on having sacred family as a background, you can be arrogant and despotic. Having green soul realm is a genius, you're still far from it. Ni Li, holding onto Shen Yu's fist, pressed his middle finger onto the joint of the wrist. His strength passed from his middle finger onto the joint, slowly breaking open Shen Yu's hold. Shen Yue was surprised to find that when Ni Li gripped his hand, his whole arm went numb. Numb and weak, no matter how he tried to use his strength, his hand couldn't resist being forced open. In just a moment, Ni Li's hand was like a steel clamp, clamping onto Shen Yu's hand. A sharp, terrible pain was felt which caused Shen Yu's face to be distorted. How did Ni Li do that? My strength is obviously stronger than Ni Li's, but I couldn't even resist. In Shen Yu's mind, his impression of Ni Li has always been that of someone with a bottom rank, poor innate soul realm talent, and weak physique. While in his mind, he was the genius in the class, blessed with green soul realm, and had been taking all sorts of elixir from a young age, causing his physique to be stronger than his peers. But, in this short battle of strength, he's totally unable to beat Ni Li. What kind of demonic magic did Ni Li use? Ni Li faintly sneered. Although his strength at this moment has not been enhanced, Ni Li's ability to control his strength isn't something that Shen Yue can match. Ni Li penetrated into Shen Yu's acupuncture point on his wrist with the power in his fingertip to instantly cause Shen Yu's arm to lose its strength. Seeing how his fist was opened by Ni Li, and Shen Yu's face twisted in a pained expression. Shen Yu's lackeys were all dumbfounded. What happened? What happened to boss Shen Yue? They blankly stared at Shen Yue. In their opinion, Shen Yue was certainly more than enough to handle Ni Li, but then why would Shen Yue have such painful expression on his face? What was going on? Duzi, Lu Piao and the trio weren't too surprised. Seeing that scene, they were very calm. Ever since practicing the cultivation techniques imparted to them by Ni Li, their cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds. Although their soul force had yet to reach 100, their strength had already undergone a large enhancement. The cultivation technique that Ni Li practiced must be stronger than theirs. They didn't know how high Ni Li's cultivation had reached, but to suppress Shen Yue it was still more than enough. What they didn't know was that Ni Li's current cultivation speed is slightly slower than theirs. Although his strength is still weak, with the vast, profound knowledge from his previous life, even if Ni Li was an ordinary person with no cultivation, he was still more than enough to mess with Shen Yue. Ni Li coldly said, Xian's name isn't something you are worthy of saying. If I were to find out that you're following Xian again, when I see you again I'll hit you once. After his rebirth, Ni Li wouldn't allow anyone to have any evil intentions towards Xian. That kind of life and death they had, as well as the feeling they shared, isn't Shen Yue, this garbage, can understand. This is impossible, how can I lose? Shen Yue, unwilling to accept the fact, never in his imagination, that he would lose to Ni Li, his expressions became sinister. You forced my hand. Shen Yu's soul realm started surging. Spirals of soul force came out of Shen Yu's body, bombarding towards Ni Li. Although he had no demon spirit combat abilities, Shen Yue could already use his soul force to bombard Ni Li's soul realm directly. Shen Yu's soul force already reached 78, and as for Ni Li's soul force, 2 days ago it was still 5, but now it had already reached over 30. Ni Li's soul force is still only half of Shen Yu's. Not good. Ni Li just started cultivating his soul force for 2 days. His soul force won't be able to fight against Shen Yue. Du Zi's facial expression changed, but he was still quite far from Ni Li. Not only that, there was still also Shen Yu's lackeys blocking the way. Those 6 lackeys were already bronze rank, so Du Zi and the others couldn't get near Ni Li. Shen Yue rotated his soul realm, his soul force rushing towards Ni Li's direction. Haha, such weak and small soul force, and still dared be arrogant in front of me. Shen Yue felt that Ni Li's soul force was very weak and small, with his current strength of soul force, could easily crush Ni Li. Ridiculous. Ni Li contemptuously sneered. He challenged numerous master demon spiritists with powerful, peerless super demon spirits in his previous life. Those master demon spiritists, aside from having super powerful demon spirits and soul forces, their control over their soul forces had also been at a frightening level. Although in this life, Ni Li's soul force is still weak, Ni Li still had the accumulated experience of his countless death matches from his past life. His control over soul force is still present, even if the soul force is only at 30 level. But even if a bronze ranked demon spiritist were to face him, they wouldn't have a single advantage when facing him. Shen Yu's usage of soul force was simply boorish and crude, only knowing how to bombard his enemy's soul realm. In Ni Li's view, this kind of control over soul force is simply no different from barbarians. Soul force isn't to be used in this way. In Ni Li's view, there are weak spots all over Shen Yue. If Ni Li desired, Shen Yue would already be a dead corpse on the floor in a breath's time. Ni Li did not bother to kill Shen Yue, because to Ni Li, Shen Yue could not threaten him even a little bit. Would a tiger treat a chicken as a threat? Laughable that some people aren't self-aware of themselves. Shen Yue felt that his own soul force is an irresistible force. An expression of ecstasy appeared on his face, imagining Ni Li's suffering expression. Right when Shen Yu's soul force was about to bombard Ni Li's soul realm, Ni Li's soul force condensed into a set of fine needles, attacking Shen Yu's soul realm. 1-point penetration, Shen Yu's soul force was spread flat, while Ni Li's soul force condensed into fine needles. Although Ni Li only used a small portion of soul force, his soul force needles slammed onto Shen Yu's soul force. Erg, Shen Yue suddenly let out a shrill, similar to when pig is being slaughtered. Wherever Ni Li's soul force needles attacked, Shen Yu's soul force punctured and unable to stop the advancing needles. Ni Li's soul force needles bombarded onto Shen Yu's soul realm. With a ripping pain in his soul realm, Shen Yu's sweat started rolling down all over, gasping to breath, as though he saw something horrifying. His soul realm jolted, and his mind was in shock. Shen Yu's vision gradually blurred, and Ni Li in front of him suddenly became as majestic as a mountain. This caused him to felt that he couldn't resist. Ni Li's cold gaze caused him to feel chill deep in his heart. Ni Li's gaze was as a sword released from its scabbard. After experiencing countless life and death battles in his previous life, and with countless experts who died by Ni Li's hand, Ni Li's soul contained a bone-penetrating chill. With such a frightening aura, it wasn't odd that a child like Shen Yue couldn't resist. Too frightened, Shen Yue felt his pants warming. He'd been so scared that he urinated. What happened? What actually happened? Shen Yu's few one-star bronze rank lackeys revealed puzzled expression. They clearly felt that Shen Yu's soul force is way stronger than Ni Li's. Shen Yue had the obvious advantage. So how would he have his soul realm defeated? What actually happened just now? Ni Li's actions were too quick, leaving Shen Yu without any chance to react. So scared you peed yourself. You smell. Just a trash like you actually dared to threaten me. I'm lazy to waste any more time on you. Get lost, and stay away from me. Ni Li picked Shen Yue up with one hand. With a thrust, Ni Li flung his hand towards outside. Shen Yue was thrown out of the window, heavily landing onto the ground, raising thick dust. Boss, boss. Shen Yu's lackeys immediately rushed out, and hurriedly helped Shen Yue up. They saw that Shen Yu's pants were actually wet. Quickly bring me away, Shen Yu's eyes furrowed. He still felt extreme fear and the flow of heat on his crotch. Shen Yu's lackeys immediately brought him away. The few that know Ni Li and Shen Yue were all dumbfounded. Ni Li actually lifted Shen Yue in one hand and threw him out of the window. Was this a dream? In the fighter apprentice class, Ni Li's innate talent was completely unable to compete against Shen Yue. Everyone thought that Ni Li would be taught a lesson, but didn't expect that the one being taught a lesson wasn't Ni Li, but Shen Yue. Although a lot people didn't see the process of the fight, Shen Yue was defeated. This was an indisputable fact. Haha, Shen Yue was actually scared to the point he peed. It is obviously his soul realm was penetrated. Could Ni Li's soul force is already stronger than Shen Yu's. It's said that Ni Li had a bet with teacher Shen Yu. If he managed to reach 1-star bronze rank in 2 months, teacher Shen Yu would automatically resign. So Ni Li had a card up his sleeves. Ni Li only has a red soul realm. How did he get enhanced so fast? Everyone in the library were talking about the matter. Ni Li, Du Zi, Lu Piao, and the trio exchanged looks. Du Zi and the others had red faces from the sense of extreme excitement and ecstasy. Today Shen Yue was taught a lesson that was simply too satisfying. Up until today, Shen Yue had been too arrogant. They all longed to see him unhappy. The incident in the library created ripples among the students, but in the huge Holy Orchid Institute, it did not have too big of an impact, and eventually it soon calmed down. Ni Li and the others continued to practice diligently. In Shen Shu's office, what did you say? You were thrown out of library by Ni Li. Shen Yu put on a calm face. Your strength has already reached 63 and your soul force has also reached 78. Could Ni Li be stronger than you? Fear lingered as Shen Yue thought of what happened earlier. That kind of murderous chill had left a deep shadow within his heart. Whenever he thought about it, would get frightened by it, that jolt to his soul realm. It would take him at least a month to be able to heal, as the fear that would make his cultivation speed very slow. And Ni Li, that guy knows demonic magic. His strength is clearly weaker than mine, but when he gripped my hand, my whole arm felt strengthless. My soul force is also clearly much stronger than his, but I have no idea why. When his soul force came in contact with mine was instantly defeated. Shen Yue recalled. He still puzzled over it, and still couldn't figure out how he lost to Ni Li. Shen Shu's face ashened, twitching from the anger. Shen Yue got scared to the point of pissing his pants. This thing was too embarrassing. Ni Li, I'll get you. Shen Yu's fist clenched to the point it released some cracking sounds. This enmity is absolutely irreconcilable. How much is his strength and soul force? Shen Shu's brows furrowed. She naturally didn't forget her bet with Ni Li. If Ni Li managed to advance to the 1-star bronze rank in 2 months, then she will need to resign. His strength is only 30 at most, and his soul force I estimated is at maximum of 10. Shen Yue said what he felt. Useless, you still lost to him, Shen Yu reprimanded. Shen Yue opened his mouth trying to refute, but could only shut his mouth in grievance. He never imagined that he'd lose. Ni Li's soul force is so weak, but he still was able to beat him so easily, and broke through his soul force. Maybe this brat excels in the control of strength and soul force. Shen Yu was someone that had seen some sights. She guessed, some people, although they have weak soul force, they have very strong control and are able to defeat the strong with the weak. But him wanting to reach 1-star bronze rank in 2 months won't be that easy, Shen Yu crooned. Right, Shen Yue nodded his head. Ni Li coming into contact with Yu Zian made him feel a strong sense of threat. He wanted Ni Li to leave the school and scram far away. The night slowly arrives, moon shined brightly, covering everything with a veil. Training grounds. Ni Li walking towards the area where he first met Zi Ninger. Seeing far away, under the moonlight, there standing quietly was Zi Ninger. It seems that today she went through meticulous dressing up. Pure black hair cascading down, studded with silver ribbons. White delicate face, slender eyebrows, elegant and refined, without the slightest sense of reality. Really worth being a beauty on par with Yu Zian. Thought you weren't coming. Zi Ninger's eyes fell on Ni Li. How can that be? I'm someone that keeps my promises. Ni Li faintly smiled, saying, no matter how busy I am, first I have to treat the illness on your body. Thank you. Zi Ninger whispered, lowering her head. Her heart filled with gratitude. Ni Li lowered his head, looking at Zi Ninger. Zi Ninger's outfit seems to be more attractive compared to her usual. That white silk dress showing her seductive figure. From her chest the long dress stretches all the way to the knee. Slender legs shaped by diligent practice and full of elasticity could be seen. Should be a little better by now. Ni Li holds onto Zhao Ninger's feet. Her delicate ankle was as beautiful as sparkling crystal, smooth and delicate. The bruise that was there had slightly lightened. Yeah, it has. Zeninger nodded her head. Her heart was filled with gratitude for Neely. After being massaged by Neely, these few nights she slept especially soundly, unlike before where it was torturing. Although she has been massaged once before by Neely, when her feet were being held by Neely, her face couldn't help to show a little shyness. While helping Zeninger, Neely asked, I have a favor to ask you. I wonder if you can help me. No matter what is it, as long as it can be done. Zeninger's eyes filled with sincerity. I have 10,000 demon spirit coins here. I want you to send someone to the herb store and help me buy purple haze grass, Neely said. Purple haze grass? Zeninger were confused by it and asked, what do you need purple haze grass for? Purple haze grass is a type of extremely cheap herb, usually only used for its smoke. Upon drying the purple haze grass then burn it as firewood, the smoke generated by it had an insect repellent effect. There's a lot of purple haze grass and it is very cheap. One demon spirit coin can buy a lot of it. Every year, every household in Glory City burns an unimaginable amount of it. Other than using the smoke, purple haze grass has no other usage. So, what does Neely need such large amount of purple haze grass for? I naturally have a use for it, Neely said. The reason why he wanted to let Zeninger help him is because that if Zeninger were to be the one handling it, it wouldn't attract much attention. Neely currently toy grabbing, therefore he has to be low-key. How much purple haze grass do you need? The more the better. I want all the purple haze grass that is out there on the market, Neely said. Zeninger doesn't get it. What can this large amount of purple haze grass be used for? Leave this matter to me. I will help you pay first. 10,000 demon spirit coins isn't a matter to me. Although Zeninger's family is slightly declining, it's still one of the aristocratic families. Zeninger, as one of its members as well as having extraordinary talent, hasn't lacked money. She usually doesn't spend any money, so having saved all her money, she has accumulated 100,000 demon spirit coins. Neely thought for a moment and nodded his head saying, okay, you'll help me buy it first, the more the better. Whatever you pay on my part, I'll return you double. No need, this amount of money isn't much, Zeninger quickly added. She was delighted that she is able to help Neely. After all, Neely's kindness to her was too great. She still didn't know how to repay him. A bit of demon spirit coins couldn't balance her gratitude.
Follow for more contents like this in the future. See you.